This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wrestling Omakase. It is episode number 215, I think. Maybe it's 217, maybe it's 218. Been trying to work here with mic problems for so long. It may just be a different week entirely. But how you doing, John, other than that?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be back. Last time I was
a half hour.
It took about a half hour after I'd already pushed it back a half hour before that. So thank you for your patience. I came back. I was in New York for my mother's birthday today. And I had to find a way to tell her that I had to go without saying I have to be on a wrestling podcast and watch 5 wrestling matches, so I have to cut your birthday short. But I did make it out.
That is some devotion. We could just move the show back a day. If you'd asked me, it wouldn't have been that big a deal.
I wish I'd known that, John.
But I work at home now. It's not like my schedule is fucking jam-packed. I mean, back in the day, that would have been a problem because I used to get home. I had that fucking nightmare commute, like an hour and a half each way. So I used to get home at like fucking 7:30, and I'd never, like, the last thing I want to do is record a podcast on a weekday. But now it's like I log off at 6 and I'm in my room. So I mean, you know.
Wow. Well, the good thing is my mom has no idea why I rushed out of there, so I'll never, it won't matter in the end. But boy, I felt bad. I would have felt bad today being like, hey, can we push it back? So instead I bailed on my mom's birthday.
I want to say for the record, I do not endorse that. So there we go. But that's what's been up with you. We Nicole and I went to one of our favorite Japanese restaurants in New York for the first time since pre-COVID on Friday, so that was cool. Have you done the indoor dining yet? You work in that industry, don't you?
I do, and we've had people inside, but I hadn't done it myself. There was no reason for me not to if I was serving people. I did eventually. My girlfriend's parents were in town, and my girlfriend's dad just kept being like, "We're gonna trust the science. We're gonna eat inside." And I was like, "Hey, you heard him." So, so I did eat inside somewhere, and it's still strange. I flew somewhere, and that was even. I
haven't done that yet. That'll be September for me. I think it'll be the first time I fly when I go to Nicole and I are going to Lake Tahoe.
Oh, that's tight. I'll tell you what, get ready. Because I thought this whole time I've had the mindset of like, once I get the vaccine, like I'll be comfortable with everything. And then I landed in LAX and I was like, oh, wrong. Not comfortable with this. No.
Yeah, I'm mostly pretty comfortable. I don't know about the new CDC recommendations this week about not need to wear vaccine. We need to wear a vaccine indoors. It seems like maybe I don't know, like 3 weeks early for that or something. Yeah. I mean, all the numbers are going down, but I would have liked to give it like another month. But yeah, I mean, New York hasn't even done it yet anyway, or New Jersey. Like I think Pennsylvania is one of the states that adopted it immediately, right?
Well, last time I was, after the CDC thing happened, I was at work and we were serving people and a health inspector came in and was like, you need the giant full face, like the face visors to serve people, and they shut us down serving people inside on the spot. So I don't know if they took it on immediately. Maybe they did later that afternoon when I got out of work. But
well, there you go. But yeah, so New York and New Jersey, where obviously I live in New York and I go to New Jersey a lot to like visit family and stuff. Neither state has done it so far, so it really hasn't changed things for me yet, but I imagine they're probably going to adopt that soon. But yeah, I just remember we were in this Japanese restaurant, which is a place by the name of No, which is very good if you're ever in Midtown. So we were in this restaurant, and Nicole and I are sitting there, and now we always, just I guess mostly out of politeness to the staff, like our whole thing has been even for the outdoor dining we're doing, but especially indoor dining. If a waitress or a waiter walks up to the table, even if we have our mask down, I try to put them back on, to be like, because it feels like that's only the respectful thing to do because they have to wear them. We were doing this a couple times, and this waitress finally says, "I'm fully vaccinated," and like puts her hand up and then walks away. And I'm like, why would she say that? Like, it didn't click for me for a second. And then I was like, oh, she's trying to tell us we don't have to fucking reach for our masks to put them back on every time, because she either she knows that we're doing it like to be polite to her, or even worse, she thinks we're doing it because we're scared of catching COVID from her. And which is another way, I guess you can read that, read what we were doing. So yes, we stopped doing that at that point.
Oh, yeah.
We basically took that as saying, please stop doing that. I don't care.
Yeah, when I brought food out to a couple families on the later end of this who were like, they see me coming and they'd go into like a panic and start reaching over each other to grab their masks. And I had to be like, you're making me uncomfortable. Like, no need.
I know. Trying to be nice. But I feel like we are free, like she was basically saying, stop freaking out. It's okay. But yeah, I mean, it's like when everybody, I think, all the stats are coming out. It's like, if you are vaccinated, like the risk to you is so fucking low, even indoors, that like, it's really nothing to be worried about. But it is just like a psychological mindset, that it's going to take time to get used to just like seeing people's faces again, and not seeing all these masks all everywhere. So I get it. It's going to be a transition period. I'm going to Atlantic City a week from Monday, like just to have fun and hang out and stuff. And I'm kind of happy they haven't listed the mask mandate yet. I have to be honest. I don't know if I'm ready for like my first time back in like casinos and bars and stuff, and like all this time. I don't know if I really need to see people's bare faces too. That seems like a little bit like I want to dip my toe in the water, not just fucking jump in. So one of
the dumbest things I did through the whole pandemic is and by the way, I'm like painting myself as a real like irresponsible pandemic guy, but I wear a mask all the time, all that. I know I just said the thing that I do whatever I want once I got vaccinated, but even now I'm wearing a mask all the time. But me and a couple friends took a beach trip, and on the way home we were like, what if we just like stop through Atlantic City and see what it's like? And we were like, we'll just get a drink on the boardwalk. Don't go in any casinos or anything. And we were on the Atlantic City boardwalk for like 15 minutes before we were like, oh God, what the hell were we thinking? Like, this is, if we found out friends of ours did this, we'd never talk to them again. We got to get the hell out of here.
When was this?
This was, it was hot out still, so it couldn't be any later than like August or September.
No,
it was a full stop bad idea. No justifying. But when you're like,
I'm lucky I still have my comps. I'm like, okay. Borgata is so desperate for me to get back down there, and I do not play that high. So full disclosure, I assume this is just like how desperate they are for people. Is they give me a fucking suite for free for 2 nights. So I am.
Oh wow!
I'm very happy. Yeah, I'm very happy. I do not play at a level. Usually, I play at a level high enough where like maybe I'll get a regular free room on a weekday, and that's it. But Borgata's like, you can come on a weekend for free if you want. If you come on a weekday, you can have a suite. I'm like, oh my God. That desperate people.
I've tried pretty hard to score a free room on a weekday, and I've thrown a lot of money out there. The problem is,
what do you play?
I'm always at like Wild West, and they're not giving away anything. So
you're not gonna, you shouldn't play that. It's kind of like counterintuitive, but the higher end places like Borgata, Ocean, I don't know how many fucking listeners care about this. Like the higher end places in Atlantic City, Borgata, Ocean, they like go out of their way to comp more people, and I don't know, like you don't have to play that. Like I play like $10 craps and like $15 blackjack. I am not a high roller by any fucking stretch, and I never have a problem getting comp rooms on a weekday. So I think if you play,
I gotta try harder. That's the first thing I'm gonna do when I re-enter the world. I'm gonna gamble my way into one free weeknight hotel room in Atlantic City.
It doesn't cost that much. It really doesn't. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to finally play a little craps, play a little blackjack.
Craps intimidates me. Craps is one of those things that like I watch in movies and I'm like, that seems like the most fun thing on the planet.
It is really fun. It is by far. It's by far my favorite casino game. Like, there's really nothing like a hot craps table when everybody's winning because everybody's like on the same side except for the weird don't players. But even they usually switch sides when the table's hot, and so you're all high fiving and like blackjack. Yeah. Like one guy could be winning and the other two could be fucking going for going broke. But craps, it's like you're all winning or losing at the same time usually. So.
I always imagined blackjack before I ever had the courage to play any table games that it would just be like that scene from National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation.
Where, I never seen it.
Well, it doesn't go well for Clark Griswold, and I was right. That's how it always has been for me at blackjack tables.
I've been really... I used to do well at blackjack, and I have been like on the unluckiest streak at blackjack. Like, I am ready to stop playing the fucking game for the rest of my life. Because like every single time, I'd say like the last... I don't know, 3 or 4 casino trips. It's like I do good at craps. I even do good at shitty ass roulette, which if you know the odds of roulette, that has like the worst odds of any game I play. And I've been doing fine at that. But blackjack, I sit down with $100, I blink and it's fucking gone. Or I sit down with $200, I blink and it's like they take my money at blackjack so fucking fast.
It goes away really fast. No matter
I lose every double. Every split is just like, okay, well, I have to double this hand, so Deer's going to have 21. And yeah, well.
Yeah, I'm always no matter how lightweight the table is, I'm always very startled at how fast the money goes away.
Yeah. I mean, craps can be like that too if you get a few unlucky rolls in a row. But like blackjack, I don't know what it is for blackjack for me lately. Just every time I play, like I would be so far ahead in casino gambling lately if I didn't play blackjack. Blackjack is like my only lot. It's what I always lose my money in now. I'm just like, okay, time to stop playing blackjack. It's supposed to have the best odds of the 3 games.
I think that's like, I think you gotta like know something. I mean, maybe you I feel like people who say that like understand cards more than I do. I'm
playing perfect basic strategy.
I don't even know what that means, which explains why I'm setting my money on fire.
Then you're just fucking flush your money down the toilet. I hate to tell you. But
yeah, I mean, it's okay. I had a feeding that.
But yeah, if you play perfect basic strategy, which is really not that hard to learn, it's like an 0.5% house edge game. Like it's really low, and I'm having the worst luck in the world in blackjack for whatever reason. Like, I don't know if I just had really good luck before and it's evening out or what, but like...
Look, we got to get you back out there. You just got to keep on that horse, and soon you'll have the opportunity again.
I think this time, I'm like, oh, maybe COVID, which I haven't played in so long now. Maybe this will be my trip for blackjack, and I'm just like, I'm going to sit down at one table, and if I lose every hand, like it's been happening in the last 3 trips, that is the last blackjack I'm playing for 2 days.
But, they just opened a brand new fancy casino like down the street from me in Philly. It opened during the pandemic, and maybe I can just go flush my money down the toilet there and have a much cheaper commute back home to wallow in.
Yeah, I mean, Atlantic City for me, like it's the half is like the gamble. Like, there really is no reason to go there if you don't like gambling and drinking. But like they have a lot of nice bars, and then especially. It's nice, especially after losing money. But winning money, losing money.
Hey,
to at least go back to your hotel room and have a great view of the beach.
What's the longest consecutive period of time you've ever spent in Atlantic City?
I guess it would be 3 nights because so not 3 nights just to gamble though, because there's an anime convention in Atlantic City every year, believe it or not. So I go to the Anime Next every year back when anime cons were a thing. And we would always go Thursday to Sunday. So I guess 3 nights would be the longest I ever spent. So usually if I'm going just to gamble, it's either 1 or 2 nights because I don't want to spend that much money. So
for me, it just being there was driving me crazy because my girlfriend and I spent 2.5 days in Atlantic City, and we couldn't just come home because we planned it around. My band had a show in Asbury at the end of the weekend. And after like 36 hours in Atlantic City, I was like, I'm going crazy. You got to get me out of here. Because, like, she loves the beach, and if you sit on the beach all day, you just listen to that recorded Guy Fieri ad play over and over. You know what I'm talking about?
No, not honestly.
Like 2 summers ago, maybe 3 summers ago now, but I think it lasted as long as that Guy Fieri, like, sandwich stand was at the entrance of one of the casinos. But I was sitting on the beach, and every 3 minutes, a Guy Fieri audio ad for his sandwich shop would play. and I wanted to like pull my hair out. It was like the worst beach experience I ever had. I was like running out of money so quickly.
Well, apparently because you're not playing blackjack correctly.
I know. I should have just Googled basic blackjack strategy. I remember at one point, like I went back inside to grab something, and I was walking back out to the beach, and I just dropped like $20 in a Sex in the City slot machine, and I was like, I've never watched this show once in my life. What am I? What am I doing? Yeah. What made me do this?
There's two things I'm going to tell. Maybe I'm educating the listeners here too. There's two things you should avoid in any casino: slot machines and Keno. Those are two things that will take your money faster than anything else in there. So, and Keno is like the worst. Keno is, I don't know if you know what Keno is. It's like when you basically pick numbers like you're playing the lottery, except like in real time.
The climax to the film, National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation, takes place. He wins a Keno, yeah.
Okay, so Keno, I remember how I said blackjack has like a 0.5% house edge, and slots are really bad. They have like a 10% house edge. Keno, I believe, has like a 50% house edge. It's like 5 times worse than slots. So I'm just like, okay, don't ever play this. I don't know.
No, Keno just seems so far-fetched to win at the moment. There's no thrill there. It never feels good.
Yeah. I mean, I have a friend, my friend Ethan, who always insists that his grandmother could never lose at Keno, that they would go to Vegas as kids and she would like win every single time. I'm just like, Ethan, she wasn't telling about her losses or something. Because it's just not mathematically possible for someone to always win a Keno.
Sorry, Ethan. Grandma's full of shit.
She was not telling you about her losses, which I'm sure were many. But yeah, so there's your gambling talk, which we somehow spent 15 minutes on.
As a listener, I wish this wasn't me. I wish I could listen to someone else have this conversation. I would love this.
Yeah. The other thing going on, I guess, is the start of the hockey playoffs. Which, speaking that dovetails with gambling. I put $50 on the Bruins and $50 on the Panthers to win the Stanley Cup. Not with the website that does not pay me on this network to advertise for them, so I will not advertise for them. You don't get any of that action? I don't get any of that action, so I am not plugging them. If you listen to any other podcasts on this network, you know which one I'm talking about, but I'm not going to say their site name because they don't pay me.
Unbelievable. Especially after this, we're going to earn it.
The ball ad plays, the whatever the fuck. That's coming back soon. They pay me. So go shave your balls or whatever. But the gambling site, they're not paying me this week. But the gambling site, they do not pay me, so I'm not naming them. No, New Jersey has legalized sports gambling. So, I don't have to use these sketchy sites or whatever the fuck. And, I just asked my dad to go place the bet for me, which, I just saw those. So both my hockey teams are eliminated this year. The Rangers and the Kings, they didn't make the playoffs. It's not really a shocker. Although apparently it was a shocker to the owner of the Rangers, who fired the president and the GM, despite the fact that no one on earth thought they were going to make the playoffs this year.
Well, but, John, I'm a lifelong Knicks fan, so I share the disdain for the owner.
Yeah, he usually leaves us alone and fucking only bothers you guys. Yep. And now he's like, well, the Knicks are great. They're in fucking 4th place, so that's good. That's as good as winning the title. Time to fix the hockey team that doesn't need to be fixed because they had a great rebuild going.
He's bored now. He has to go fuck with you guys.
So. But yeah, it's just horse shit. But yeah, so the Rangers and Kings both not in the playoffs. So I was like, all right, to make this a little more interesting, I'm going to place a couple bets. I did the Bruins and the Panthers because the Bruins are playing the Washington Capitals, who I used to like, but I'm very angry at them right now because of the piece of shit Tom Wilson, what he did to Artemi Panarin on the Rangers, like towards the end of the season. And the Bruins 12-1 seems like good odds for the Bruins. They're a very good team. And then I put the 50 on the Panthers because it's like, who the fuck thinks the Florida Panthers are going to win the Cup? They haven't won a round since 1996, but they're sneaky good. If they can somehow get past Tampa in the first round, which is a big F, I actually kind of like their chances. And it's 18-1 for them, so I bet like $900. So that's cool. Yeah, so that's a cool bet. But then my dad calls me and is like, "I'm riding with you." And that pretty much is my dad's voice. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I put the fucking 50 on both of them too. I was like, why did you do that? Now I'm going to feel fucking horrible if they both get knocked out in the first round.
Does your dad
I'm going to feel like I failed you as a... Yeah, he watches a lot.
I was going to say, if he was just following you blind, I love this.
No, he basically is. He basically is. He's just like... Because last year, I told his friend to bet on Tampa to win the Cup, which, by the way, does not exactly make me prognosticator of the year. Mm-hmm. They're probably the fucking favorites anyway. And he did. I didn't. He did. And neither did my dad. And he made money. So now it's like, oh, Johnny knows who's going to win.
You got the hot hand.
And I'm like, do you understand I made these two bets as like quasi long shots, especially Florida, but even Boston, like just to like increase my enjoyment in these playoffs. They're not really like the most likely teams to win. And he's like, oh, whatever. I'm riding with you.
Yeah, he just wants the action. He's just in it for the action. Who cares?
He is a bigger gambler than me, I will say. So, he does love those fucking slot machines. And he loves Video Keno, which is like maybe the one game that's not as bad as the real thing. Because if they have to like use they have to like match the payouts with slot machines or something. So yes, if you really have to play Keno, you should play Video Keno, apparently.
Hell, writing this down. Video Keno, got it.
No, you shouldn't play that. If you absolutely have to play Keno, Video Keno is better, but you should really stick to like table games and video poker. Like those are the best odds in the casino.
I used to sit in convenience stores and play like the New York Lotto Keno on the little TV screen in the corner.
Well, you definitely shouldn't do that.
What do you think of that, John? Yes, good or bad?
Definitely should not do that. But anyway, are you like a hockey guy at all or no?
No, I was when I was. Okay. I got into hockey briefly when the NBA had a lockout years and years ago, but it didn't stick. I ran out of time for sports that weren't basketball. But I did win a fantasy league today, so I'm also I'm raking it in.
That's good. Yeah, I've been a hockey fan for a long time, and I swear, folks, we're gonna get to 5 matches at some point. I've been to a hockey fan for like a long, like I was a hockey fan when I was a little kid, and then I stopped paying attention to it until like 2007. I want to say is when I got back into it, and it's crazy thinking about like how NBC is going to be done with hockey at the end of the season. Like these playoffs are their last run.
So what's the deal? Even then, they were only on like the NBC Sports Network, right? Or were they on?
So when I started watching, Comcast and NBC were still two separate entities, and the NHL had a cable deal with Comcast, who either had just rebranded Outdoor Life Network to Versus, which that was what that was called for a while, and they had a broadcast TV deal at NBC. So those are two TV deals they had coming out of the famous 04-05 lockout that wiped out the whole season. Right. So they have both those TV deals, and then at some point Comcast buys NBC. I don't remember exactly what year that was. I want to say 2010 sounds right to me in my head, 2010, 2011. Yeah. And then they rebrand Versus as NBC Sports Network, and the NHL signs a 10-year deal with them, basically making NBC Sports and NBC broadcast their exclusive home for like 10 years. So now it expired. First they signed with ESPN for half the deal. And then I think everybody, that happened like back in January. And I think everybody kind of thought NBC was going to take the other half of the deal. But what I've read on the situation is basically NBC really balked at being asked to pay more money for half the content, basically, because they had the whole thing. And the NHL was like, well, we want another $300 million for, half the regular season games, half the playoffs, and 3 out of 7 Stanley Cup finals. And NBC was like, fuck you. And so the NHL ended up going with Turner. So 3 out of 7 Cup finals will not be on broadcast TV the first time ever.
Turner's got the NHL? Did I miss that?
Yeah, starting next year. I don't know how you missed that.
I know, it's the wrestling. It's practically just wrestling news.
Yeah. I mean, wrestling fans are going nuts wondering if this is going to mean Dynamite has to move or something, which doesn't seem like it will, because Wednesday night was always NBC's hockey night, but I don't know if and NBA and the ESPN has the NBA on Wednesdays, but I don't know if the NHL was married to Wednesday nights or anything. So
also, like, I mean, wouldn't you? I guess if you paid for it, you gotta serve it properly, but wouldn't you prioritize Dynamite over regular season NHL hockey? I don't know.
I mean, the ratings are better, but the ad revenue. The ratings are better for AEW, but the ad revenue is better for the NHL.
Okay.
So I think that's how it works out. But yeah, the NHL, where the NHL is going to disrupt AEW, I think, is where the AEW gets disrupted already, which is the playoffs. Because now Turner's going to have to schedule the NHL and the NBA playoffs at the same time. Even though they only have half of both of them, but
they'll
now
probably get bumped off Wednesday every week during the playoffs.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I think. I think during the playoffs they're going to get preempted like every week. That's what I do think that's going to happen. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But but that'll be starting next playoffs, not this playoffs. So this playoffs is the last ride with NBC, and it's just really wild to think about how basically NBC has had hockey my entire adult life, and now it'll be like, fucking, 25 years or whatever the fuck. No, 15 years, not that long.
Yeah.
I'm not that old. But yeah, 15 years, and 2006 to 2021, and yeah, now they're not gonna have hockey anymore. Just kind of crazy.
I don't know if I watched a hockey game that wasn't on the MSG network in 15 years. Probably.
That's funny because I always watch. Definitely, because I always watch the playoffs, and the playoffs.
I do watch the playoffs sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, because the playoffs are always on NBC Sports Network, CNBC for some reason, but just always kind of funny. It's like all these ads for our normal programming and the primetime. Fucking what the hell is that show that Mark Cuban's on?
Shark Tank.
Shark Tank. Yeah, thank you. Not a show to watch, I have to say. But yeah, he's like, oh, Shark Tank. And I'm like, why do you think, me, the hockey fan, coming to watch your hockey game on the stupid network is going to be like, yeah, I'll be tuned in next week for Shark Tank.
And I'm the one putting on my daily 8 hours of Shark Tank on CNBC and disappointed that I have the NHL playoffs.
There you go. But yeah, this Florida-Tampa series in the first round, that's the highlight so far because these two teams have both been in the playoffs have both been in the NHL since the early 90s, and somehow they've never met in the playoffs. Somehow. It's not that hard to figure out the mystery, because Florida fucking sucked for the last 25 years. And Tampa really has had lots of lean periods, too. They won the Cup twice also. Right. But yeah, I mean, this is their first playoff series ever, and both teams are trying to kill each other, so feels very fitting for Florida.
Well, and also now I'm just going to live vicariously through your bet and make that my rooting interest in the NHL playoffs.
Well, Tampa just scored on Florida, so now it's 3-2 Tampa. So.
Oh God, this is a terrible idea. What do
we? And Boston lost game 1 to Washington, so yeah, they'll both go out in the first round, and they'll look very stupid. I can always make another bet though. That's what they always try to do. That chase good money after bad. It's a great thing to do in gambling.
Well, make sure your dad's on the level too. Don't leave your dad behind on these catch-up bets.
Make another bet in the second round. All right, we should finally get to some wrestling. So, 26 minutes in, here's some professional wrestling. This is like a flagship episode. We're going to talk about 5 matches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because basically so I asked you to come on this weekend to discuss New Japan Pro Wrestling, Grand Slam in Yokohama, and All Japan Champions Night. 2 shows that I'm sure in an alternate universe are great, but they didn't happen because of the new state of emergency in Tokyo, which got extended, as many people thought it would. So I was like, hey, do you want to come do a 5 matches instead? And you were like, yes. So that's what we did. I will also quickly plug the Patreon. So with Japanese wrestling doing nothing next week, I mean, literally nothing. I maybe there's some stuff, but certainly nothing high end. I am taking a week off from doing the podcast free feed or Patreon for the first time in probably a million years. I'm still going to do audio on the Patreon. We're doing an awesome 1-match series right now at Tanahashi versus Naito, watching all those matches in order, all the ones that made tape, because there are actually a bunch early on that didn't make tape. Or not that they made tape, but there's no footage because they're not in New Japan World.
Are you up to the 5-minute match yet?
I just did the 5-minute match, which is so awesome. Yes. So that's the latest one on there right now for you to go listen to on the Patreon, which I loved it as well. That's from the 2011 G1. But yeah, so that we'll still be doing that. So it's not like I'm taking time off and doing audio completely. But if you're listening to this on the free feed right now, you will not hear me again for 3 weeks. Because next week I'm taking off completely. The week after that, the last week in May, I will be doing a Patreon exclusive episode with returning guest Joey Bay, and we'll be doing a Best of the Super Junior Final Retro Roulette, since end of May, early June is usually Super Junior time. So we'll be picking 5 random Best of Super Junior finals. So that should be a lot of fun. So if you want to hear that, you have to sign up for the Patreon. If you want to hear me at all, and after 26 minutes of bullshit, how could you live without me? You have to sign up for the Patreon. Otherwise, it'll be 3 weeks from now when I'll be back on the air. And I can't tell you what the episode's going to be about. I haven't planned anything for June yet. Kind of have to figure out if Japanese wrestling is going to be happening in June. It looks like it will, but who the fuck knows at this point? But yeah, so June will be back on the free feed 3 weeks from now. If you want to hear me in the meantime, again, Tanahashi versus Naito, every match in order. We're doing 2 of those a week. They've been a lot of fun to do already, and we'll be getting into all sorts of cool stuff. I mean, the next one I'm doing is the title match from 2011, which I'm excited to go back and watch. That'll be probably on Tuesday, so that'll be probably be coming out on the Patreon then, and then we'll be doing like I said, 2 a week, so those will continue. But yes, no episode at all next week. Patreon exclusive episode, Best of Super Junior, Retro Roulette in 2 weeks, and then we'll be back here on the free feed in 3 weeks. So if you want to hear me talk, which if you don't, I don't know why you're listening to this right now, it's patreon.com/wrestling omakase. Only $5 gets you all of our audio, plus everything I've ever done, which I've done, one match series on Tanahashi and Okada, all of those matches in order, all the Naito Ishii matches in order, matches submitted by patrons, and we get all sorts of wacky shit. I mean, I've done everything from Takashita versus the blow-up doll Yoshihiko and DT. I've done Battle Arts matches. We did this match a couple weeks ago from the Futen promotion that was just insane to talk about. Like, have you ever seen Shibata do those shoot headbutts? They did like 15 of them in a row. It was just I don't know how these people didn't kill each other. But yeah, so that was so really, really crazy. So all sorts of stuff is on the Patreon. Plus every Tokyo Dome main event in order. We got all the way up to 95. We'll be restarting that whenever New Japan announces their next Tokyo Dome show. So again, all that stuff is up there right now. G1s, Champion Carnivals, all sorts of shit. Patreon.com/wrestling omakase, $5 a month. I dare say it will be the best $5 you spend.
Ooh.
So, I mean, what else are you spending $5 on? I don't know. Like fucking $5. It's like, I don't even think you can get like a Starbucks for that.
That's not even the minimum bet on the Sex and the City slot machine.
There you go. So let's get these 5 matches. Your first pick was a match by the name of Daisuke Masaoka and Violento Jack from the November 13th, 2017 Freedom Show. The event is called Heel Don't Think 2017, which might be the best like recurring show. Because I was scrolling through these shows on IWTV, which I always forget that they're on there. Although they don't seem to have anything recent. It seems like it ended in 2020. Before
there's like a certain amount of time. Like they just added some newer stuff, but there's some. I think it's like a year has to pass. Well, it's already 2021, so I don't know. But they do keep adding stuff, but there's some gap that has to pass.
I see. But yeah, so this show, I mean, I was scrolling through the show and I'm like, oh, there's Heel Don't Think 2018. There's apparently a whole series of Heel Don't Think.
Oh yeah,
shows.
My favorite is, what is it? I think there's one that's like, We Love Freedoms. It's like,
yeah,
hell yeah.
So this was the main event of this show from Corkin Hall, a glass board and no canvas ring death match for the King of Freedom's world title. Masaoka was the defending champion here. Why did you pick this match?
This legitimately might be one of my favorite matches of all time. And I didn't really actively follow Freedoms till a little later after this when Takeda takes the belt from Jack. So I recently went back and watched the prior couple years before that because I dig Freedoms a bunch. And this match, no one really... Violento Jack's been in the... he's been in the tag team that had the tag belts for almost 2 years with Mammoth Sasaki. And
she also mentioned, by the way, he's an actual luchador.
Yeah,
he's not a Japanese wrestler, which I had no idea until I looked him up because I was like, wow, this guy owns him, and look up more about him. And it's like, oh, he's Mexican. That's cool. Does he wrestle for Zona or anything, or whatever the fuck the garbage?
I always kind of assumed that, but I've never really looked at what he did before he was in Japan. I have no idea.
Yeah, but he seems to be full time.
Yeah, he speaks fluent Japanese, I think now, or at least it sounds that way to someone who doesn't speak Japanese. He speaks confident Japanese one way or another. Yeah. But yeah, no, and he and Masaoka are people don't really bring them up in the in that list of can't miss deathmatch. Those guys that people who don't watch deathmatch go out of their way for.
I feel like I've seen Jack mentioned by deathmatch fans. I don't know if I've ever seen Masaoka.
But I think they deserve to be in that that tier of guys that people who don't watch deathmatch respect, like Kadaka and Takeda and Kasai. I think these to me, I see deathmatch as this spectrum where there's dudes like Kobayashi who are just gross out, who can't wrestle at all, and on the other end is I don't know, Takeda, who could do anything and be one of the best wrestlers in the world. And these two are right in that sweet spot where they're way closer to Takeda, I think. And yeah, this match rocks. And Jack doesn't do a lot of cool. He's been in the Freedoms tag team division, which, as you could probably imagine, Like, isn't that stacked or can't miss, you know? And he's had a match. He had a match this year with Kobayashi in the Big Japan Deathmatch tournament. So he's like back in like the Deathmatch works again. And Masaoka just came back from an injury. But this match just rules, and it does this thing where like I like with death matches, right? To me, all that like glass and blood and crap, it's just another way to like escalate a match if you don't just, you know, use it for shock value alone. And I think this match escalates like so perfectly, like picture perfectly. Like we're going to talk about a Bret Hart match later, and I think this match like times its escalation just as perfectly as that Bret Hart match does.
Yeah. I mean, these two both, like, they are both just seem like good wrestlers who happen to do death matches, you know, which, you know, they do some like, oh, by the way, so I don't know if this is a normal thing. I've never seen a match like this with no canvas, and just seeing them on the wood, which is, you know, just see a bunch of wooden boards basically, is really jarring. I have to say, like, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And I
But,
love that you have, if you look at Toru Sugiura, who's the champ now, is like running around replacing the boards as they knock them out of place. The whole match, he's like trying to slide them back into place so nobody gets hurt. And like watching them flop up like that. Like I can only think of, I mean, I'm sure there's a ton, but I can only think of one other big match like that. There was a Takeda Kasai match the next year that was like the same thing with like boards flopping everywhere. But yeah, and that's the thing too, you know, you always hear wrestlers talk about like how that canvas is like deceiving, and it really just feels like you're taking bumps on wood, which is like another really cool thing about the trick of just lifting the canvas. It probably doesn't even feel all that different, but it looks brutal.
Yeah. And, you know, like they do a really good job in this match. They start out some chain wrestling, which I always get a kick out of. I always get a kick out of watching deathmatch guys do that in a deathmatch anyway, but somehow it's even cooler just on the wood, like doing chain wrestling on the wood.
That first sequence is so great.
Yeah. And then, you know, then they tease for a little bit like what the first slam on the wood will be. They build up to it pretty nicely. Like there's a spot where Jack almost hip tosses Daisuke coming off the ropes, but Daisuke manages to land on his feet. That was really cool. But then Jack finally does give him this big scoop slam on there. But yeah, there's all sorts of cool stuff. The only thing, you know, there was a really sick spot like right before the part I'm about to bitch about, where Jack does this huge DDT, like leaps off the second turnbuckle to drive Daisuke's head first onto the exposed wood on the apron. That was such a sick spot. The only thing I didn't love about this match was I thought the crowd brawling and stuff seems really tame compared to the rest of the match. Like, oh, here's Jack sending Daisuke's head into the east sign as per tradition. You know, it got pretty dull for me from the time they were crowd brawling until they like first got back in the ring. Just felt like there wasn't much happening, especially for a death match. But after that, it really picks back
right
up.
After that sequence. So when I sent it over to you, I hadn't watched it in ages, and the first time I watched it again was about, I don't know, 2 hours ago. And they do the crowd brawl, and you know the crowd brawl's a drag, and then they get back in, and it's immediately followed by like the worst looking surfboard. And when that sequence is happening, I was like, "Oh no, is this match actually not good?" Was I? But it picks back up right after that.
And I always have that fear when I pick a match that I haven't watched in forever. I'm like, uh-oh. But yeah, Daisuke does this really big acai moonsault to Jack on the floor. Very nice moonsault. There's this like spot where Daisuke like pulls some light tubes out from under the ring. Jack starts trying to do a dive to the floor. He gets hit with the light tubes that Daisuke's holding in midair just as he starts throwing through the ropes, but he no-sells it, bounces back on the ropes, and does a perfect tope con hilo to Daisuke on the floor anyway.
So
that
sick.
was amazing.
I have that written down, like I have that sequence written down part for part in my notes here. So good, yeah.
Yeah. And then Jack hits like this light tube assisted Uranage of sorts, and like, you know, Daisuke just like falls down the light tubes as he lands. That gets a very close near fall. And then Jack sets up a glass board with a bunch of beer cans glued to it, which I don't know what that was about, but that was cool. He peels back like a whole bunch of the boards. He sets the beer can glass board up in their place, and then it gives Daisuke a fucking package pile driver through it all the way into the bottom of the ring. Absolutely.
And you know what
insane.
The best part is? Right before that, they have this sequence where they struggle that ends in the superplex on the corner there. And like that whole sequence is like so intense and nothing like I always have a hard time watching people do that like struggle on the turnbuckle because it always looks so cooperative to me no matter how good they are. I thought that sequence looked so great. And when Jack finally gets the superplex, uh, Masaoka's back's already been bleeding so much and he lands on a little bit more glass. And when Jack is going to set up the piece of glass with the Coke cans on it over the hole in the ring, Masaoka rolls over and he just leaves this gnarly puddle of blood like right in the middle of the ring. And like that's what's like he's rolling around in this newly formed puddle of blood while you're waiting for Jack to set up the next spot. It's so good.
Yeah. Jack then he brings Daisuke back in the ring, but somehow Daisuke kicks out. I was like, okay. He then counters a military press by Violento Jack into a double knee to the face in midair. Like that was, first of all, that would be an amazing spot for any human beings to do in a wrestling match at all. But for these two guys to do it after everything they've done, they just went through a fucking hole in the ring through glass. They're bleeding profusely, and they're like, yeah, let's do this perfect counter. Like, that could have gone wrong so easily. And they managed to pull it off perfectly, despite both being covered in blood. That was just amazing. And it gets another 2.9 count. Daisuke then gives Jack a shining wizard that sends him through the hole. That was awesome. He gives him a meteor off the top rope to Jack, standing in the hole. The first time I saw that, in the ring.
I like put my hand over my heart and gasped. I've never seen anything like that before. Yeah. I was like, that's like the moment for me when he does the meteora into the hole. Oh.
It is crazy. And then back in the ring, he gives him a swine, continuing the Shima tribute, I guess, and then goes up for another meteora, but Jack blocks it by holding onto him and then just fucking drops him with a powerbomb, breaking more boards in the process. He covers, like this was a really stiff powerbomb. He covers but only gets a 1 count, so he just slaps in the face over and over again. Daisuke comes back with headbutts. Suddenly like a fucking, I don't know, like a strong style match is broken out here. Jack no-sells, hits a huge kick and a lariat for yet another near fall. He finally hits another package pile driver on the boards, and that's the pin. Amazing finish. I love that just like started just doing fucking slaps and lariats and stuff. That was so great. Match absolutely fucking rolled. I had to take points off for like the middle period they could have cut out completely, but it's still an easy 4.5 stars. And they pulled out all the stops here. This was awesome. Easy. Like if you're not, this is one of those matches again, like the Takeda match that Takeda matches people talk about. Even if you don't normally like death matches, if you can handle the blood, you will like this match.
Yeah, and there's these little details to it too, because like so there's the part before Jack catches him on his shoulders and power bombs him on the boards. It's one of those moments where like it seems like they didn't time things right, and Jack has to wobble around for too long. And, I begin to groan at that. But then it works perfectly because he took too long and Jack catches him and reverses him. Like, every time the match is doing something that I think isn't perfect, they fix it. And the other thing I love about it, every time, the two times they go down in the hole, the first time when Jack does the package powerbomb through the glass in the hole, they lie down there for a while. And this, like, perfect cheesy spot right after, he just lifts his bloody fist out of the hole and the crowd goes wild for it. It's like such perfect like action movie bullshit for a match like this. And the same thing kind of happens later when Masaoka does the meteora into it and he comes out first and the crowd pops for that. Well, I mean, like my brain wants to give it 4.5 because there's problems, but my heart is screaming for a 5 on this one. I just love the ending so much.
There you go. So that you could just split the difference and say 4 3/4.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll do that.
Yeah. So there you go. That's our first match. Match number 2 was my first pick. It's Kazuyuki Fujita versus Katsuyori Shibata from New Japan, July 19th, 2004. So this is Fujita's one and only title defense from his second reign as champion. He defeated Tanahashi on June 5th, 2004 in Osaka to win the vacated title, which was vacated by Bob Sapp, I think after he lost some MMA match or something. K1 match, whatever the fuck. Who cares? He lost some fucking real fight, and they made him vacate the title. I think he may have lost to Fujita, actually. So it was weird they made Fujita, win a pro wrestling match to win the title, but whatever.
Was he hurt, or were they just like...
I think he just didn't... They were just like, well, you lost a shoot fight, so fuck off.
Right,
basically.
Okay.
And he was hard to work with anyway, I think, is the general idea. So, he did not want to do jobs, really. I mean, none of these MMA guys did. So Fujita he wins the title, makes his one defense. Do you remember the match he lost the belt in?
I do. I've never seen it, but I know because
you
of
remember
who he
what it
loses
is, right?
it to. It's
Yes.
the 3-way with Lesnar.
No. That's
no?
that's his third reign. Amazingly, they gave him another fucking title reign after this.
Right. This is only 2004, right?
He lost the belt to Kensuke Sasaki on October 9th at Sumo Hall in the infamous 2-minute and 29-second main event where Fujita had a choke on Sasaki. Fujita falls backwards. Sasaki pins him because Fujita won't let go of the choke. And that's the pin. Sasaki wins the title. It is really not an exaggeration to say this almost killed the company. Because the company was already kind of not doing well anyway. And I've read that there was almost a riot in Sumo Hall when that happened. People were fucking fed up. And this was if one match was going to kill the company, that might have been it. I mean, that really was a big fucking deal. It was a huge controversy in the press. I mean, just people were outraged.
It's funny too.
I just want to say this. Maybe this is why they're because people are why is New Japan so obsessed with doing 30 to 40 minute main events? But one time they did a 2.5 minute main event, the company almost died. So
started a riot. So fine, 30. We'll go 30. And also Fujita. So this period of New Japan is a total blind spot to me. I know the reputation. I know the whole Inokiism thing. There's matches from this period I've watched, but Fujita to me, I was a big MMA nerd out of high school. I know Fujita as a shoot fighter, who I know Fujita as the guy who would get beat half to death and pull it out. So as a pro wrestler, that's the whole thing. Yeah. Going against Fedor and stuff. So as a wrestler, it was always I know I've seen way more old guy Fujita pro wrestling matches than I have from this period.
Because it's funny because in pro wrestling he doesn't do that at all. He just he doesn't take a ton of punishment when he just kills people in pro wrestling.
No, it's the total opposite. And also when you look back at what people he beat in MMA when he's young, he's the only people he's beating are the other pro wrestlers who aren't supposed to be there. Well, that's not true. He's got a couple good wins. He beat Mark Kerr. But I used to be super. I got into MMA in the dying days of Pride, and I was obsessed with finding old Pride DVDs. So that's what Fujita is to me.
Yeah, but in the middle of that reign, there's this awesome fucking match with Saburo in July. But I mean, this reign was ended really really badly because Fujita didn't want to lose a real match, so that's what they did to get out of it. And they're like, "Here you go, buddy. Here's your title again." And then he loses it in that 3-way match where. Lesnar pins Chono instead of him, which, compared to this, that's no big deal, I guess. But I think his first reign, he vacates it. So he never got pinned for this title. Well, no, he did get pinned. He gets quote unquote pinned, but he never got really beat, for this title. It was the first reign he vacates it. The second reign he falls himself down, choking the guy in 2 minutes. And the third reign he doesn't get pinned in the 3-way.
So he's always been this way.
I mean, the job he did for Sugiura was the cleanest job of his career. I mean, I love Fujita. Don't take this as me bad-mouthing Fujita, but that's part of his lore is he does not want to do jobs in wrestling matches, which is fair enough. I honestly think we need more people that don't want to do jobs because in a lot of ways, modern wrestling is too boring when it comes to that because everybody's willing to put everybody else over, and it's come on.
I think about that sometimes. Would we give a shit about these Fujita matches if he was willing to take losses on a regular basis?
Exactly. I mean, I don't know. There's too many wrestlers who are too willing to lose to everybody. It's I don't we need more selfish wrestlers. There you go.
Yeah. The most lauded period of wrestling is when everyone was an asshole and a dirtbag. Yeah. Let's bring that back.
Exactly. But I also kind of thought this one because we got Shibata Ishii on the Tokyo Dome Retro Roulette last week, so that made me think of Shibata, obviously, and Fujita, has kind of been in the news lately too from his very short but very awesome GHC national title reign. So let's go back here to peak Ironhead. Shibata here, yes, okay. So Shibata looks a little heavier, for sure, less cut than the form he would appear in later on. He's 24 years old here. He's about to turn 25 in November. He's also soon to depart the company for his infamous time away. About almost exactly 4 months later, He'd have his last match in New Japan at the time, a losing effort to Genichiro Tenryu in the Osaka Dome. He goes freelancer after that, and he returned for one match, January 4th, 2006, to beat Hiroshi Tanahashi for some reason. There's like, Shibata, you left this high and dry. Come beat Tanahashi. It's okay. He beats Tanahashi at the Tokyo Dome. That's classic Inoki booking, I guess. Because Inoki was like, are you an outsider? The way Vince is with the old people, that's Inoki with outsiders. Like, are you an outsider? Or do you have a name in MMA? Would you like to come beat my entire roster? Please do. But never ever, the roster never ever gets any payback on you. Let's go. Please come beat my roster. But yeah, so he beats Tanahashi January 4th, 06 at the Tokyo Dome. And that's it for him in New Japan until he makes his big return as an outsider again alongside Sakuraba in September 2012. In fact, he did not do any pro wrestling at all for almost exactly 5 years. So he did, his last match was December 30th, 2006 for the super obscure Uwai Station, which is the short-lived and little-known follow-up to Big Mouth Loud by the same ex-New Japan executive, Fumihiko Uwai. So Shibata beats MMA crossover, apparently trained by Takada, Kazuhiro Haminaka, I think. 5 years later, December 31st, 2011, he and Sakuraba beat another MMA crossover, Atsushi Sawada, and a former sumo Rikishi, Shinichi Suzukawa, on a co-promoted IGF Dream show, the New Year's Eve show, which obviously, he had that was the 5 years apart. There is his largely failed MMA career.
Yeah.
And then Shibata went back into hiding after that December 2011 match, and then finally shows back up in New Japan the following September. Basically stays there the rest of his career, mostly part-time, until he finally goes full-time again. Fujita here is 33. That's jarring. He's like one of these guys who I've gotten used to just looking really old, and he does not look old at all here. He's still got some time left in this New Japan run. His final match of the promotion is over a year later in October 05 for this run. Although he does take a long hiatus from November 04 to June 05. Like Shibata, he'd be gone from pro wrestling entirely for a while. He doesn't reemerge until he shows up in the IGF in August 2011. He stayed in the IGF exclusive for the next 7 years. He doesn't do any matches at all in 2016, weirdly. But other than that, he's like IGF from like 2011 to 2018. He leaves to do a couple freelance shows with Big Japan and All Japan in 2018. And then finally, he started with Noah in 2019 in the part-timer role. He does like 8 matches a year. I think most people know and love by now. You better love it. He's awesome, Noah. Fun fact, though, he also does 3 matches a year in 2019 and 2020, one so far this year, for Real Japan Pro Wrestling. I had no idea until I looked it up on his cage match. He held something called the Real Japan Legends title for 455 days. He won it from Super Tiger September 29th, 2019. He made one defense against Masakatsu Funaki December 5th, 2019. And then he lost it back to Super Tiger December 17th, 2020.
Is this like the senior tour?
Yeah, that's like the senior tour. Yeah. Actually, no. That's Pro Wrestling Masters. This is sort of like a senior tour, but it's also...
I mean, like that belt specifically.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. This is a Sayama promotion that never makes tape, always claims like sellout crowds of 1,800 at Korakuen, which I'm sure are totally real. But yeah, I'm sure it's a totally legitimate business here. Real Japan. But yes, so there's your Fujita and Shibata history.
So in this period here, where is Shibata like in the hierarchy of things? Honestly, before Shibata like leaves to do MMA, I know I know the Noah stuff with Kenta, and I've seen very.
By the way, you sound a little quiet again. I don't know if you got further away from your mic or something.
Oh, did I fix it?
Okay, you sound better now.
Okay, sorry about that. I leaned back. No, yeah. So with Shibata, I know the stuff, the tag team with Kenta and Noah right before he splits for MMA. Where does he sit in the hierarchy of New Japan in 2004? So
he was briefly pushed as 1/3 of a new Three Musketeers with Tanahashi and Nakamura. Right. So they clearly have big plans for him, but he was always kind of like the third ranked guy of those three for sure. And he had runs in the heel stables and Makai Club. And I think at this point, he's in Black New Japan. I'm almost positive, which is like the Chono heel stable. Right. So I think the way they were presenting him, and I'm going based on memory here, so this could be wrong, but I think the way they were presenting him was as like Chono's younger protege, basically like the next like Black New Japan guy, because Black as in like, so Chono's whole thing was like he had NWO Japan,
Right.
Team Wolf, he had Team 2000, and then he had Black New Japan, and then eventually just Black. Whereas like he was always the, on the heel side of the ledger of New Japan, they always had the, the heel stable. And like he was kind of being presented as the Chono disciple. And it was always a weird fit to me because it's like, obviously what Shibata became later when he came back to New Japan made way more sense for him. Like this straight ahead, I'm just a wrestler, I'm just going to kick people's asses guy. Yeah. And they wanted him to be like, this new top heel guy. It never seemed to make sense to me, like why he was the new top heel guy. And I get it because they thought Nakamura and Tanahashi, like they thought Tanahashi was the new Muto and they thought Nakamura was the new Hashimoto. That's basically how they tried to present it. And yeah. And Nakamura was, they ended up sort of making Nakamura the heel guy instead in the years that followed, where even before Chaos, he joined Chono in Black, and then he had Rise, which were kind of heelish, but not, they were more like a neutral unit, especially since GBH were the heels. But then, obviously, he turns on them and forms Chaos with the other people in GBH in 09. It's very much like, okay, he is the top heel. He kind of would drift more and more away from that as time went on anyway. But that was kind of like, he made more sense in that role to me than Shibata. Shibata was like, at this time, he's like still being groomed, I guess, for that spot. But it never seemed to click to me.
See, and that's funny, too, because this match in a vacuum, without any of that context, it just feels like a younger version of the same old Shibata. Like this match went exactly how I imagined it would go.
Yes, and it's like that's why to me it never was going to work for him as like a new top heel guy. But yeah, the match, they do like a lot of cool like MMA mat wrestling, which if you're not into that, I could see you thinking the early portion of this match is kind of boring, but I enjoyed it. Shibata, there's this really cool counter where Fujita tries to get a choke back in the ring, but Shibata reverses it into like this sudden STO, but like in a really, really natural looking way.
Yep.
That was like a really cool counter. He goes like straight into a headlock from there. And this match, by the way, is only like 14 minutes, I think. It's really
less.
short.
I think the entire runtime with the intros is like 13:30.
Yeah, so maybe like 11 minutes. He goes like straight into a headlock. Fujita makes the ropes to break, but instead of letting go, Shibata just moves his arms down to his waist. Bad refereeing, I have to say. I always say that. Hits a big German suplex, just fucking drops Fujita on his head, and Shibata gets right back to his headlock. Acts like he's going to go for a dragon suplex. Fujita breaks the grip, and Shibata immediately hits an even sicker German. This time, really drops him right on his head. Reapplies the sleeper again. Such a sick sequence. And then he hits this running PK for a 2 count. Then just kicks Fujita right in the head again. Just keeps booting at him at that point. And, he does do like, Fujita gets pissed basically and just unloads on Shibata with these big overhead punches and knees. The only thing that sucks about this little sequence is his big kick to the head at the end. Seems like it actually kind of missed, but they still sell it like Shibata's out. So whatever.
You mean like the very last one?
Not the very last one in the match. It's the very last one. This little
that sequence, right? Okay.
Yeah. But Shibata gets back up at 8. So Fujita hits this big spine buster and then hits a kick to the head again that sure as fuck did not miss.
That's what I was like. No, I'm pretty sure it hit.
Yeah. So all the rest of them hit. Maybe he made extra sure after that point. The fans do start chanting for Shibata as he stands back up. But he eats a straight punch from Fujita, more super hard knees, kicks to the head on the mat. I mean, this dude is just fucking unloading on him. The referee backs Fujita off for another knockout tease, but Shibata just won't stay down. And then Fujita hits another pair of knees. We get yet another knockout tease. The crowd chants for Shibata some more. And then this time, Fujita just doesn't want to wait for him to get up. He just fucking fucks him up with yet more knees and kicks. We get the 10-minute call. Fujita fucks Shibata up even more with another super hard kick to the skull. Plays to the crowd and gets a mixed reaction. And Shibata stays down. That's the finish for the 10 count. Fujita wins by knockout. So I can see some people not liking this if they don't like the MMA style mat work or just can't stomach Fujita's very physical offense. But I fucking love this match. This ruled. It ruled just as hard as I remembered. Fujita does take some hard kicks from Shibata too, and some very hard suplexes on his skull. So you can't say he doesn't take it just like he dishes it out. But boys, he dished it the fuck out too.
Yeah,
that's for sure. By the time it's over, you really can't blame Shibata for going down. Fujita looks like an absolute monster. Of course, the payoff for said monster's big loss was so bad it almost killed the company. But what can you do? This rolled 4.25 stars.
You know, in the very beginning, right before they go into the mat work, the very first couple seconds where they're just decking each other in the face, and then Shibata hits that backdrop driver, like right at the beginning. I'm not used to watching Fujita get dropped on his head like that, and like you said, he gets dropped on his head twice more after that. And also, you know, one detail I really liked about this is Shibata does sell everything Fujita does like it's total death. Like Shibata.
I don't think he had to sell that much.
Yeah, no, I know. Honestly, I have on the very last kick, like the last one before the 10 count, I was like, that noise couldn't have come from boot on face contact, right? And I kept rewinding it, like, please, like, please, the noise has to be coming from somewhere else. It's like the sickest thud, that last kick in the head. But yeah, no, like you said, Fujita gets dropped right on his neck like 3 times. That's sick. And honestly, his comebacks, like Shibata will go on these big runs. The one, like you said, with that like STO and the PK, he like does this great buildup. And then I think that one ends with Fujita just kneeing him in the body once, and he just goes down. He does a great job making Fujita look like a total monster. And then down the stretch, they're hitting these punches that just look like shoot punches again. This was sick. I didn't even think like there was the grappling stretches, and like that's to be expected with these two. And I had really anticipated them being a lot longer than they were. A lot like once this gets going, it is a snuff film. I'm probably in the same like 4.25 range. This was sick.
There you go. So people need to stop bad-mouthing Fujita. He was awesome when he wanted to be awesome. When he didn't want to be awesome, he put a sleeper hold on and laid on the mat. So, what can you do? All right, so match number 3 was your second pick. So, oh boy. Chris Hero, Necro Butcher, and Super Dragon versus Samoa Joe, Adam Pearce, and BJ Whitmer. The ROH vs. CW tag, April 22nd, 2006, from the 100th show in Philadelphia. So when you first picked this, you asked me if I was here. And I was like, I think so. But you just put it as the ROH vs. CW tag. So I did not think of what the actual match was. And then I looked at the participants and saw Super Dragon's name. And I was like, oh, yeah, of course I was there. This is the infamous Super Dragon tries to pull me over the barricade by my hair show, which I've told that story on here a million times, but I guess we'll tell it again. So during the course of this match, which is just this crazy brawl, Super Dragon had kept... First of all, you can see me in the front row if you look here. I was honestly like, wow, I was skinny 15 years ago. So you're like, this is probably the absolute skinniest I was in my entire life.
No one should ever have to look at themselves on video 15 years ago. It's not right.
Yeah, and I was like, this. So I'm like 19. I'm 19 years old here, and I'm looking at myself. With this, I have first of all, my hair is dyed black instead of brown, which. I always like cringe when I see that from back in the day. I'm the skinniest I've ever been, which, just made me be like, well, I got to lose some weight. But yes. And, I'm standing there in this like black and white striped shirt for some reason. I'm like, why am I wearing a collared shirt to Ring of Honor? I don't understand why I did that. I must have had wrestler shirts. Like, did I think I was too cool for that at this point? I don't really understand.
Yeah, you were dressed to the nines for that crowd.
Yeah, it was really. Did you see me in the audience? Did you?
So there's one show I think I messaged you about like back when I first watched it. I've only ever spotted you very clearly once, and you're fucking with Jay Lethal. You're like getting Jay Lethal's face at a different show. This one I was gonna ask. There's a part where people are blocking someone in the crowd. Is that when Super Dragon was fucking with you?
I think it might have been.
Okay.
So Samoa Joe, the way you can see me on camera very clearly is Samoa Joe, especially if you know what Quinlan looks like. Because Quinlan, so I showed Nicole this match, she just to see what here's me on tape from 15 years ago, and she was like, "Holy shit, Quinlan looks exactly the same." I do not mean that as an insult to Quinlan. It'd be great to look exactly the same as you look 15 years later. But he always gets he is a man in his mid 30s who always gets carded for everything. He's gotten carded for R-rated movies before, where it's like you have to be 17 for that, obviously. And it's because he still looks exactly the same. He looks like he's, fucking 19 years old. I mean,
what a gift.
What a gift. It's a gift. He acts like it's a fucking burden. I'm like, motherfucker, you're going to be, you look
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, with 24/7 support and experienced staff at over 250 local branches. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Exactly the same 15 years later. That's not a fucking burden. Anyway, so yes, Quinlan looks exactly the same. So if you know what Quinlan looks like, you'll be able to spot me immediately because I'm next to Quinlan. But yes, I recognized Quinlan before I recognized me because I looked that different, and Quinlan looks exactly the fucking same. But yeah, so Samoa Joe walked right past us at one point. We're in the front row, as I often was at these Ring of Honor shows during this period. So, Nicole was asking me, like, how did you get front row for every show? And I was like, well, you just had to be there at the last show and they put them on sale. That's all there was to it. Because this is like before they went to Ticketmaster or anything. They would just, you were at the last Philly show. They would say, our next Philly date is blah, blah, blah. Tickets on sale now at the at the merchandise stand. And you went and bought the tickets. That's it. I mean, it's not really that. Because people always used to be like, how do people get these front row tickets? It was like, you just had to go to the last show. That's it. I mean, it wasn't like some really difficult thing. But anyway, so Samoa Joe walks right past us. So that's when you can definitely see me at one point. So the Super Dragon thing. So Super Dragon was an asshole, first of all. At one point you can see him fighting with some other fans, I think, and almost like physically assaulted him. The camera did catch that. The camera did not catch my thing, thankfully.
Okay, that part you're talking about is the part that I was wondering was you. Because there's like two fans that are like, it seems like they're blocking someone behind them who Super Dragon did something to.
Maybe that was me. I don't even know. But yeah, you could see two fans yelling at Super Dragon. Anyway, it looks like he's almost going to come to blows with them. So maybe that was right after my thing. I don't know. So Super Dragon was like, obviously the Ring of Honor had these hard barricades. They had these steel plates on them, right? That the fans always used to like slap, right? The barricade slappers. So if these fucking barricades went into your legs, it was very painful. Now, it happened accidentally all the time, which is fine. You understand it, but you try to get out of the way. Super Dragon was basically doing it on purpose. He was getting whipped into every barricade, and he was making sure to hit the fucking things as hard as he could. Like, I watched him do this over and over and over again, and I've barely got out of the way once, and then he got me the second time, and it just fucking cracked into my leg. I was really pissed. So he's laying there, and 19-year-old John did something very stupid in retaliation. I picked up a water bottle, I opened the water bottle, and I poured it on Super Dragon, which was not my brightest moment. And he immediately stops selling. He stands up and is like, who the fuck did that? And everybody gives me up immediately, of course, because they're a bunch of wrestling fans, and that's what they do, even though they're supposed to be on my side in this fake war. And he immediately just looks at me. I look at him. Like, I wasn't even like taunting him or anything. I was just like, yeah, it was me. I'm like, what do you want me to say? He grabs me by the hair, and he starts pulling me over the barricade. It's very, very rough. Security runs over, separates us right away. So really, probably the actual hair pulling was probably like maybe 5 seconds. And I'm fully expecting at this point to get kicked out. But the security guard looks at me and then looks at Super Dragon. The security guard, you have to remember, the security guard was the same at every show, basically. Yeah. And at this point, I've been going to front row. Basically, I'm too big to fail for Ring of Honor at this point. I've been spending money on front row tickets for every show in the Northeast since like 2004 at this point, probably like mid 2004, and buying their DVDs and shit. Security guy looks at me, he's like, just back up over here, just back up over here for a while, and like let him calm down, and that's it. So they just made me basically back off, and you can see me back in the front row for the end of the match. So at some point I walked back over there and nobody said anything. So yes, they did not kick me out for pouring water on Super Dragon, and in fact, Super Dragon ended up not getting booked again because apparently he was being physical with other fans other than just me.
I love that you have more pull than Super Dragon. The power you were throwing around at these fucking shows.
They were like, well, apparently Gabe hated him already, so I guess that was part of it too. But yeah, I was the Banks. I was too big to fail for Ring of Honor, so I did not get thrown out. Maybe it was another wrestler who they already didn't have this problem with, then I would have been more of a thing. But yeah, Super Dragon trying to pull me over by my hair which was a very justified reaction on his part for me pouring water on him. Somehow, yeah, I did not get thrown out for all that.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, he's only in two more.
He makes like one more. Yeah,
I think he has like the
solo
match, but I think they're like not in the Northeast. I think they're like in weird places.
Yeah, Midwest. Yeah. I think it's like they did his remaining shots and they didn't come back. So
yeah.
But I mean, the rumor is he monkey flipped a fan, like a shoot monkey flip.
That's what I wanted to bring up.
People seem to think that was me, and I was like, no. If that happened, it definitely was not me. Because the story is it was after the show, and it's like, no, after the show I fucking left. I didn't get any more altercations with Super Dragon or any other wrestlers. So.
Shoot monkey flipping someone, that rules. I hope it happened, but also.
Yeah. I have no knowledge on if that happened.
When you read about this,
the show.
Oh, sorry.
Literally, the show was over. I was like, I was not one of these people that hung around the show. Like, I was like, we have a long drive back from Philadelphia. Let's get the fuck out of here. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When you read about this show, because this show there's a bunch of wild shit happens on this show. When I asked you about it, I actually was when you were like, oh, I don't know if I was there. I was like, good, because I didn't want you to think I was specifically baiting you into telling the Super Dragon story again. I have a million questions about being in the room for this show, because this show seems insane for 1,000 reasons.
Oh, so you weren't there?
No, I wasn't there. To me, ROH in 2006, I had a buddy who bought the DVDs. I watched them all out of order with no context, and then like I'd get high in a basement and watch this stuff. So like I knew about CCW. I knew all of, like, the guys on the roster.
I was at like the CW show where the feud really started, or the Ring of Honor show, the doubleheader, where like so we're sitting in the front row. All the CW guys hit the ring because I guess they're mad that the Ring of Honor show is going long or some shit when they did this doubleheader, and the CW guys start like tearing down the barricades, and fucking tiny ass Sabian is standing right in front of me tearing down my barricade, and if people don't know me, I'm like almost 6'2".
You could whoop Sabian's ass, John.
I have a lot of height on Sabian, but I was still not looking to get in a fight with Sabian. It's just kind of funny because Sabian was like looking right at me, like, "Come on, motherfucker!" And I'm like, "You're really short, man." I don't know. Like, I wasn't really that intimidated by 5'4" Sabian or whatever the fuck he is. It did look a little ridiculous, but yes, he was the one who got right in my face. Which I was like, you probably should have like looked for one of the shorter fans and gotten in their face.
You should have poured water on Sabian. You could have handled that.
Yeah, Super Dragon's like almost my height, I think.
Yeah, Sabian couldn't reach your hair.
There you go. Sabian could not.
I'm like Sabian. I'm way closer to Sabian's height than Super Dragon. I should stop talking shit.
Why? How tall are you?
I'm like 5'6".
Oh, there you go. You're my girlfriend's height.
Yeah, no, Sabian would kick the shit out of me. Oh, but yeah. So yeah, when I brought it up, I was like, okay, good. It doesn't seem like I'm just baiting them into this match. But the thing is with that, when you read about this show, every write-up about this show has some version of the story of Super Dragon, like of them hearing Super Dragon beat someone up at the show. And I don't know if they're talking about like whatever happened with you or the blown up story about someone getting monkey flipped after the show, but reading these, I've always been like, is that the John thing they're all talking about?
Yeah, I mean, if they're acting like he beat me up, it's definitely not me, because like like I said, had hold my hair for 5 seconds, security pulled us away, and that was the end of it. I mean, there was no other physical altercation. So, if he did something else with fans after the show, I couldn't tell you. Like I said, I left the moment the show.
I like to imagine as soon as the cameras went off, Super Dragon just went out and beat the crap out of everyone he could see. The other thing too is like I said, like when I was watching, my awareness of ROH in 2006 was like distant from like internet wrestling conversation. It was hanging out in like a buddy's basement, and then a few years later, when like I understand, you go back and you watch all the big matches because I got back into like nerdy wrestling talk. And you watch all like the big moments with a little more context, but still not real context. And more recently, in the past couple of years, I've watched every CZW and ROH show from that year in order, alternating between them. And all like these things that are put that are like held as like the common opinion for like the peak moments of this feud in that year in context, I think are all like wrong. Like I think the first Danielson Nigel match is better than the unified one, and I think this is better than the Cage of Death match. I think this is like the best match of the whole year. This match is amazing. It's
so I will say, when I was watching this back on tape, I don't know if it's because I was there, but it didn't hold up for me as much as I thought it would.
Yeah,
because it's like, okay, you're like, it's just like so much camera cut. It's like Ring of Honor 2006 production to me has a really hard time keeping up with this, to the point where it does start to drag a little bit for me, where it's like, okay, I get it, they're crowd brawling. It's just like, maybe I've just become really I don't know, like really, like crowd brawling has been really like overexposed to me over the past 15 years or something. But I mean, I still thought it was great, but it didn't connect with me on like one of the best matches ever kind of level.
you know, like they do the like as an actual like the action, as the actual like wrestling goes, there's not, you know, much to toy with here. But the way so many moving parts like connect in this match, like the way they know they have Joe and Necro to play on, like the way they use Joe in this match. Joe's like out of the feud after this match. Joe's used as like a bait and switch twice after this. And in this match, they use Joe for everything. Hero is so willing to look stupid with Joe the whole match. And then like...
Did the Joe Necro match happen yet, by the way, at this point?
So the Joe Necro 05 match happened. Okay. And then the 06 one is a bait and switch for Homicide Necro, which is like my favorite match of all time. And that's it. Like that's all Joe's only in the feud for the rest of it to be the bait and switch for Homicide Necro, and then he gets hurt and pulled out of the Cage of Death match. And they use
he's on his way to TNA too.
Yeah,
well, he's already in TNA, but I mean he was like on his way to not being a Ring of Honor guy really anymore, just being a TNA guy.
Yeah, he starts really taking it easy in Ring of Honor, like essentially during this match. And like Whitmer is so down he does so much dumb shit with Super Dragon in this match. They go back to CZW and he gets his head stomped in on a chair again by Super Dragon. They have like practically a death match a few shows later. This is the only time Adam Pearce is cool, like ever. This match.
This, by the way, this video file starts off with the Cornette Zandig debate, which boy did that segment not hold up.
No,
like okay, Cornette's representing ROH. He just rambles about old school Philly wrestling forever. Zandig tells him to shut the fuck up, and despite the fact that he's apparently as big of a MAGA chud on the planet as there is right now, I still had to agree with him, because it was like, buddy, Cornette really did need to shut the fuck up at that point. Then Cornette does kind of start like ethering him and make him look like an idiot because he's just way faster on his feet than Zandig is. And you know, the CW fans and the bleachers, the CW fans do a much better job during the match representing themselves. A CW fan have to tell me more. CW fans didn't actually like Zandig, right?
Well,
because they did not react for him during this promo most of the time.
At CZW shows that year, Zandig is still, he's like taking command of, like, storylines fall apart and just becomes Zandig coming out and taking them over. And he gets huge reactions. He main events the actual Cage of Death show that year. I was going to ask that too. Like, I was going to ask how, like, that CZW side of the room, like, were they actually, was it actually like almost an equal amount of CZW fans there? No, it didn't seem like it.
It was like they basically had the bleacher. They had their own side of the bleachers, which did have a lot of fans, but like most of the fans on the floor were all Ring of Honor fans. So like you would see a few CZW fans, but so like basically the two bleachers maybe cancel each other out. I think there were probably still more Ring of Honor fans, but then the floor was all Ring of Honor fans almost. Like very few CZW fans on the floor. So that basically, even if there was the exact same amount in the bleachers, the floor would have tilted it to Ring of Honor. But yeah, because I was like, during this segment especially, the CW fans I felt like got really drowned out hard by the Ring of Honor fans. So Zandig gets booed out of the building a lot of the time. The ROH chants easily overpower the brief CW chants, and it just adds to the feeling of Cornette like destroying Zandig here verbally. Zandig does finally get a good point in when he points out the Smoky Mountain had plenty of hardcore shit too. And Cornette does finally get flustered at that point and has to resort to dropping homophobic slurs.
Brutal. Won't even censor repeating them. I can't even pretend to almost repeat them.
And then it devolves into two of them yelling back and forth to the point where I can barely make out what they're saying, combined with the production with no direct feed to the microphones. or whatever the fuck.
You know what Zandig says that I love though?
What?
Cornette goes like, "I got a locker room full of guys who would never come work for you," and Zandig.
He's like, "Oh, 12 of them are on Best of the Best."
Well, first he goes, everyone in half that locker room came from CZW, and Cornette says, "Well, they would never go back," and he goes, "They're all coming back next month, you stupid motherfucker."
Yeah.
For Best of the Best, yeah. It's great.
That was really good. But yeah, Zandig, by the end of it, like between the bad audio and all the crosstalk, it's almost unwatchable. And then Zandig finally calls out the CW boys to the ring to thankfully bring an end to it before Samoa Joe's music hits to bring their team out. This is like, just a total wild brawl all over ringside. I just think it doesn't hold up as well for, there's parts of it that drag to me watching it back. I think it worked better in the building for sure. So Super Dragon, the big spot. Super Dragon gives Whitmer a psycho driver through a table off the apron. That was a ridiculous bump, obviously. Zandig after that shows up in the ring. Joe goes right after him, but Hero cuts him off, so Zandig can throw some truly horrible punches. Bryce and the what was it? Todd something?
Todd
the
Sinclair.
Other Todd Sinclair, thank you. The Bryce and Todd Sinclair get into an argument about the legality of this. So Bryce Rensburg is there as a CW rep, obviously the same guy in AEW now. And he's wearing this horrible-looking black and yellow striped ref shirt. And, Bryce is yelling about there being no DQs in CZW. I don't know what Todd's yelling. Can't really hear it. And then Butcher just finally decks Todd Sinclair in the back of the head with a punch, which is really funny. Hero has Joe in a cravat. Zandig is like flipping off the crowd. But out comes Claudio. So this whole time, obviously people knew Claudio was Hero's partner in Chikara and CZW. So the question was like, oh, what size Claudio going to be on? And I guess at some point before the show, he had said he was with Ring of Honor, right?
Yeah, during the show, he's with Ring of Honor, and Hero talks shit on him. He does the promo in the crowd where he walks from the ROH side and brings the camera to the CZW side. And it's like building up that Claudio's an ROH guy.
And then, so Claudio comes out with this big ROH embroidered suit jacket. Now, he also has a yellow shirt under there that you can see.
Yeah.
So Joe should have noticed that, I guess. It's like bright yellow. So basically Joe holds Hero for Claudio to bounce off the ropes. And indeed, Claudio blasts Joe with a European uppercut the moment Joe runs in. And that's it. So he and Hero hug. Pierce tries to make the save. The ROH fans chant for Homicide, who's still a heel at this point. He wouldn't make this big face turn for Ring of Honor for a little while longer. And then Hero and Claudio give Pierce some wacky double team move, and Hero pins him with a win. It was an awesome and ballsy move for Gabe to book this that way, I will say. The Ring of Honor fans definitely were not happy. I remember being in the building being like, oh, these fuckers.
And having the CZW side to escape through is such a cool closing image, and Joe's staring at them. Like, all these pieces just fit perfectly into place for that finish.
And the CZW guys all lead through the crowd. Joe in the ring. He's in the ring with an incredibly bloody Adam Pearce. And Joe tells him to hit CZW's music, which fucking sucks, by the way. The theme song. It's we're trying to rip out the ECW 90s theme song, but make it as shitty as possible. Which the ECW theme song already sucks, but this is even worse.
Yeah, it's not cool.
But yes, Joe says, hit CZW's music because it's the last time you ever hear it again, which is a great line. But there you go. It doesn't have the same feeling for me as being there live 15 years later. I totally get why some of the fans in the building started chanting Match of the Year at the end. That's also a very dorky thing to do, by the way, because you're supposed to be mad as a Ring of Honor fan that the CW won. You're not supposed to be fucking chanting Match of the Year, you fucking dorks. Anyway, watching it back now, I don't see how you can go. I went 4 stars. It's awesome. It still comes across as an awesome brawl, and there's some incredibly sick and bloody spots, but it also kind of drags just watching them constantly cut between cameras, and it's hard to tell what's going on sometimes. To me, it's the ultimate example of a you had to be there match. But it was a fun trip down memory lane, though.
I definitely get that, because I definitely I'm normally not into, big crowd brawls. This match, they recreate this match on 3 other shows after, and it's a nightmare to watch after this one. But this one, part of it too is the crowd is nuts the whole time, and it's to me that it was so engaging watching all the reactions. At one point, Joe's walking through the crowd, and you hear one guy get close to him and yell, find Super Dragon and kill him now." And there's like that, and like the way like also Super Dragon, like I imagine if Super Dragon pulled my hair, I'd be like, that guy sucks and he's an assaule. But as someone just watching,
no, I think I think Super Dragon fucking rules.
You know,
and I've said that
you called him an asshole.
I said that he is an asshole.
Totally.
But I think he's an awesome fucking wrestler. I mean, I've never come on this show and buried Super Dragon as a wrestler because he pulled my hair one time 15 years ago. I mean, he's a great fucking wrestler.
Oh yeah, well I was about to call. I just wanted to soften it in case there was any bad blood, because I was about to say, dude is the star.
I mean, look, I poured water on the fucker's head. What was he supposed to do? I mean, he shouldn't have been fucking. Look, he was trying to provoke a response. Dumb shit, 19-year-old John gave him a response, and then he tried to pull me over by my hair. I mean, it is what it is.
I just and I love how every time like crowd's actually mad at him. If that wasn't the thing that happened with you in the corner, then someone else is super mad at him. And then he just gets in the ring. He's got this like deceptively big belly, and he's just like holding it out and flipping off the crowd. And he psycho drivers Whitmer through that table. He takes the exploder on the chair. Like, I've never seen a guy give so few fucks for a half hour straight as Super Dragon in this match. I don't know. It was so like the crowd being like molten hot, the way it comes off the rest of the show. These CZW guys being like, eventually they're just on every show and it's not as fun to watch them. So in the context of watching this in the order of all the other shows, like, it's so cool. It's like,
this is the peak, right?
This is really, to me, this is the peak. And even by the time Cage of Death happens, like, if you watch...
I remember being sick of it by the time Cage of Death happens.
And even just watching them all in order. If you watch the CZW shows that are happening at the same time, CZW, like, disowns the feud. They go, like, at one point on commentary at whatever show happened at about the same time as the Cage of Death match, they go... Yeah, ROH says they're fighting with us, but they have Nate Webb. Nate Webb hasn't worked here in a year and a half. Like, they say that on commentary because Nate Webb's in the CCW team on the CCW Cage of Death match. But on the ROH CCW Cage of Death match. But on this one, like, it's all peak. It's like the first time like Necro Butcher's doing like the shoot punches to somebody in an ROH ring. I love it. I don't know if I can like call it a 5-star match because there are parts that like aren't that fun to watch. It goes on for a half hour, but it's shockingly engaging to me for like that whole half hour. I'd go at least like 4.5 something on it. Even rewatching it now and knowing everything that happens, I was like, still rules.
So who's on the CW team in that Cage Death match? It's like Nate Webb, Necro Butcher.
I think Eddie Kingston's in it.
Eddie Kingston,
and he's not in the rest of the feud either. He shows up for Cage of Death.
Yeah.
Hero Claudio. Is that everybody? How many?
That might be everybody because I think it's 5, right? Maybe there's another one.
No, yeah, it's 5. Did we say 5? That's
Hero, Claudio, Necro, Webb, and
Kingston. Yeah, that's the 5.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was cool to relive, I guess. But let us move on to match number 4, which was my second pick: Hiroshi Tanahashi against Hirooki Goto from New Japan, May 3rd, 2009. I just kind of wanted to relive the days when it was still theoretically possible to think Hirooki Goto could win the IWGP Heavyweight title. And we were also kind of just talking about this time period on the Tanahashi Naito one-match series, which again, patreon.com/wrestling Omakase, only $5. Want to hear lots of stuff. I mean, I did a lot of stuff about, this period of New Japan. But yeah, this was Goto's third shot at the IWGP title in his career. He lost to Tanahashi on November 17th, 2007 at Sumo Hall. He lost to Keiji Muto in All Japan on August 31st, 2008, again at Sumo Hall. That was after his shock G1 win. And then he was like, I want to take my title shot as fast as possible. I'll go to All Japan to face Muto because Muto was champion while still being in charge of All Japan at the time. And he lost, of course. That I remember everybody being like, what the fuck? He wins the G1 and he goes to All Japan to try to be the conquering hero to get the belt back and he just loses?
Wait, that happens?
Like, what the fuck?
That happens during the Muto title reign where he drops it to Tanahashi?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that match happened.
Yeah, that was in All Japan. Because it was in All Japan.
All Japan, right, yeah.
Yeah, it's in All Japan. But yeah, so here's his third shot now against Tanahashi after Tanahashi won the belt from Muto at Wrestle Kingdom. So this is at Wrestling Dontaku following Goto's first New Japan Cup win. He beat Giant Bernard in the finals. He would, of course, go on to lose this title shot. He won the New Japan Cup 2 more times. the following year in 2010, where he beat Makabe in the finals. Then he loses his title shot at Korakuen Hall to Shinsuke Nakamura. That's a match we covered in this series before, actually, on the 5 matches episode last year with Joel from the Super J-Cast. That match owns.
That match is awesome.
And then he beats Tanahashi in the 2012 finals before he loses his first ever title shot against Okada. His first ever title match against Okada, I should say. And yes, overall, Goto has 8 title challengers. Besides the ones I just mentioned, he also lost to Tanahashi at Dominion 2011. He lost to Okada 2 more times. New beginning in February 2014 and 2016. And as of today, he has never received another IWGP Heavyweight title shot again after he lost that match to Okada in 2016 and then joined Chaos a month later following his New Japan Cup final loss to Naito. Still one of the dumbest storylines in wrestling history. I've buried it on so many different pieces of audio. It's just so terrible. Tanahashi, meanwhile, he's in the middle of his 3rd reign as champion here. As mentioned, he beat Muto to win the belt in the Wrestle Kingdom 3 main event in January 4th, 2009. He defended against Nakamura on February 15th. He beat Kurt Angle April 5th. Both of those were Sumo Hall. I don't remember the Angle match at all. I remember Angle Nakamura very well, but I don't remember an Angle Tanahashi.
Yeah, I've seen. I looked up this defense, and I was trying to see if I had seen the other matches in it. I was trying to figure out which Tanahashi Goto match this was, and I'd seen all the. I'd never seen that Angle match. Apparently, it was good.
Yeah, I never seen it. I actually no. I probably did see it at the time, but I don't remember it. It definitely been a long time. So this is his 3rd defense. He beats Goto here. Then he finally loses the belt to Manabu Nakanishi only 3 days later at Korakuen Hall. And that's Nakanishi's, of course, his big gold watch reign, his one and only title reign. Nakanishi loses the belt right back to Tanahashi a month later at Dominion. Tanahashi would only get 1 defense this time against Noah's Takashi Sugiura before he suffered an eye injury at the hands of Nakamura in the G1, which forced him to vacate the title. After vacating it, though, it took him a long time to finally win it back. So he gets a title shot against the next champion, who is Nakamura, November 8th, 2009. He loses there, and then he finally wins it back from Satoshi Kojima, January 4th, 2011, at Wrestle Kingdom 5. And that's the famous Tanahashi title reign, where he breaks Yuji Nagata's defense record for most defenses in one reign. He finally loses the belt to Okada in the Rainmaker Shock, February 2012. So that's the January 2011 to February 2012 reign. So there you go. And of course, Okada would go on to break Tanahashi's defense record. And now the records are all wiped out. So I guess the defense record is
now
1.
All of this was imaginary.
Yeah. Defense record right now, the World Heavyweight title is 1 for Will Ospreay. There you go. So we start here with Goto. Have you ever seen this match, by the way, before? I guess.
So I opened. So everything in the circle of Nakamura, Tanahashi, and Goto, like before the Tanahashi 2011 run, kind of all blends together for me. And I actually had to open Grapple to see if I'd ever watched this, and I had, but I didn't remember it. I was gonna say this match is like right in a period where like watching Tanahashi in this era. And I would say like until like maybe partway through the 2011 run feels like putting on like an episode of an old comfortable sitcom you like they all kind of blur. It's a model. It's a great model. I love all these matches, but like, you know, I'm just like, oh, this, and I'm like calling what the next thing is going to be, but I don't know if that means I remember the match or if I'm just like, that's what big Tanahashi matches were like in 2009, 2010.
Right.
But yeah,
I will say it's always so weird to see him in black instead of white now.
Yeah.
But I'm so used to him in the white. But so I've noticed from the Tanahashi Naito matches and this match and this around this period, I mean, like New Japan crowds at the time were not entrance pop crowds. I mean, later on they would become big entrance pop crowds. But yeah, even when they get hot during the actual matches, they really did not make big entrance pops for anybody at this period. In this period, it was really interesting.
Yeah, and I also feel like. Well, like you said, like when Tanahashi like moves to the white and gets a little more like flamboyant, I think that contributes to being like like stuff like that contributes to being like an entrance pop crowd. But it's funny though, because the way the entrances are filmed, like back then, I've recently like gone back and tried to watch as much stuff from like this period that I hadn't seen before, and like entrances are so much cooler still. Like there's like one venue where like they shoot the camera down the aisle whenever they're at that venue, but I can't remember what it was. But I don't know. The point is, yeah, I agree with you. Is what I'm saying in a very
maybe that's
long...
Sumo Hall. I think you're talking about Sumo Hall.
Yeah, actually, you know what show they do that at is the show with the 5-minute Naito.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think you're talking about Sumo Hall.
Like that's so cool. It doesn't really contribute. The crowd can't see that, but the entrances are so cool back
then. So they start here at like some very basic mat wrestling stuff. It goes pretty much the first 5 minutes, and Goto's like struggling to get an armbar on Tanahashi at the 5-minute call. Not the most exciting stuff, but it all looks good. It's all crisp. We get our first rope-assisted dragon screw from Tanahashi. He catches Goto on the apron and just drives his leg into the ropes hard. Tanahashi then absolutely crushes Goto with a tope con hilo from the apron to the floor. I mean, he fucking lands hard on him. And he's still selling his arm from Goto's earlier arm work, so that as he comes back up. So that was a nice touch. Back in the ring later on, Goto gets like this nice diving elbow drop off the top on Tanahashi. It's weird watching this match. Tanahashi's wrestling style in this match is very similar to his wrestling style nowadays. There are differences, and obviously he could do a little more back then, but like the general gist of it, dragon screws, cloverleaf, high fly flow, German suit. Even he had the capture German at this point, which I didn't realize he had that this early. Like all the signature moves are kind of the same. Goto wrestles nothing like.
Nothing
like zero. He does. When's the last time you remember Hirooki Goto doing a fucking top rope elbow drop?
Well, actually,
it's a nice elbow drop.
I was gonna say he still does that. You know why I love Goto's elbow drop? Because it's the most non-athletic. He does it the same way Kojima does it, and they both. It's like lunch pail. I don't give a shit. I'm just trying to hurt this guy. Elbow drop. I love his elbow drop. He does it a lot more back then. I think he only does it in big matches now.
Yeah. And like he doesn't have the GTR yet. He doesn't have a ton of stuff. He just got the Shotenkai, I think, which he barely even uses anymore. And yeah, he doesn't have all the GTRs. He doesn't do as many lariats. Like he really is not in like the hard hat lunch pail Ishii style yet. Like I think most people would associate with him now. He's much more like, I don't know, like he's getting there, but he's also much more like he does more mat work. He does a lot of arm bars in this match. Like the promotion style was also changing too, which I'm assuming is a big part of it. But yeah, he's still doing a lot more like grappling and technical wrestling here than you ever see him do now.
Yeah, and he's like he's very like flashy and aggressive with it too. Like when he does.
Yeah. Well, he was still so Milano and Taichi on the outside. He was still in that Rise unit, even though Shinsuke Nakamura had left a month earlier, and they were not. I talked about this earlier with Nakamura. They were not heels exactly, but they were definitely like at least tweeners. Yeah. Whereas like that group is going to break up since Nakamura left them a month earlier to form Chaos. That group is basically going to like slowly break up, and Goto will be a Hantai guy, pretty much until he joins Chaos when Chaos is already babyface anyway. So he's basically just a total babyface for the rest of his career at this point. But this is like the last vestiges of like, Goto sort of being on the side of like Black and Rise and all that. And he was in CTU even when he was still a junior. Yeah. So, I mean, he definitely grew up on the heel side of things, which seems weird now when, he's been a babyface for so long.
And he's so just like vanilla now. And for years now, he's like here, like even the moveset he's using here, like at least he comes off like a big aggressive goon here. Like he comes off like a mean goon. Where I feel like in more recent years, Goto's character is competent pro wrestler. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I still love Goto.
Yeah, I still think Goto's good, but there's just like there's nothing to attach to.
It's true. I mean, he just kind of at this point his character's like veteran, basically. But yeah, so nice diving elbow drop. They do some running around and like ducking each other. Goto hits this weirdly light lariat, which, like I said, he doesn't do a lot of lariats in this match, but here he hits like a weirdly light one. But it kind of works. He hits this weirdly light lariat to the back of Tanahashi's head, but Tana barely sells it, and then counters with the sling blade when Goto bounces off the ropes in front of him for like a real lariat. So, oh god, Tampa just scored like a minute left in the game. It's like 4-4 tie, and Tampa just fucking scored a minute 14 left in regulation. Fuck off. Anyway, I'm like, both my teams I put these fucking bets on are going to be down one.
Your dad's going to be devastated.
Way to bet on him, John. But yes, so anyway, unless there's a miracle here in this minute and 14 seconds. So Tanahashi, it really did fluster me. So yeah, so he bounces off the ropes, and he counters that sling blade when Goto bounces off the ropes in front of him. Tana starts giving him these grounded dragon screws as we get the 15-minute call. I am amazed this match is only half over because the amount of action they put in, after the first 5 minutes when they was pretty maybe a little dull, the next 10 were pretty exciting. And it's wow, there's still another half a match here. And it's not, it's not one of those 30-minute or 30-plus New Japan main events from nowadays where virtually nothing happens for the first 15 minutes. It's not like that at all here. And Tanahashi it just paced way better to me than some of these New Japan matches are nowadays. Tanahashi gets the Texas Cloverleaf on Goto, but Goto crawls to the ropes fairly quickly to break. We get this hard slap battle. Both guys are just standing there and trading. And then Goto finally gets a straight right hand to win that exchange. You get some light boos in the process. Japanese fans do not like when you use a closed fist punch. He shoves the ref aside, hits another punch. But then he sets Tanahashi up on the top rope in the inverted position and gives him a big neck breaker off of there. It's another former Goto signature move that he only does very rarely nowadays. He doesn't go for a cover off of that, though, which is kind of weird. And he finally hits another elbow drop off the top. This one to the back of Tanahashi's head and covers for a 2 count. He sets Tanahashi up in the front suplex position, looking for the Shotenkai. Tana keeps blocking. So Goto ducks a lariat from Tana and drops him right on his fucking neck with this sick-looking backdrop suplex. Tanahashi no-sells, pops right back up. So Goto gives him a second backdrop. Was not nearly as rough as a landing for Tanahashi on that one, just before the 20-minute call. Goto picks Tana up, tries again for the Shoten. Tana counters in midair with what I guess is supposed to be a sling blade. Really just looks like the two of them falling down together. Not the greatest midair sling blade counter we've ever seen in Tanahashi match.
I was pretending Goto was selling the leg. He was not.
And then Tana gives him a standard sling blade. He goes to the high fly flow to the front. Goto gets his knees up. As an aside, if Tanahashi ever goes straight for the high fly flow to the front without hitting either the cross body or the one to the back first, that's almost always the result. So, Goto hits a gut buster from a fireman's carry position. Finally gets the Shotenkai. Only called the Shoten by the announcer, but it's definitely the Kai because Goto drops to his knees. Milano at ringside thinks that's it, basically. He thinks Goto's just won the IWGP title. It's oh, you poor bastard. Goto kicks out. I mean, Tanahashi kicks out. By
this point, the Shotenkai was his established finisher, right? That was
yes.
I don't know. Obviously, I knew who won this match, but I thought that was the worst near fall on a finisher. No one in the world was buying that. Where it happened. Milano almost convinced me.
Yeah. But Goto hits a lariat, gets another close 2 count, and then Tanahashi comes back with a standing Rana out of nowhere for very close, very cold near fall. Did a great job making it look like it could end with that sudden flash pin. And then Goto tries to answer with a flying armbar out of nowhere. That was awesome. He obviously never does that.
I've never seen Goto do that. That ruled. I have that written down with all these exclamation points. That woke me up. That was great.
And then Tanahashi counters as soon as they hit the mat with a cradle for yet another near fall. He goes for the cloverleaf again. Goto counters into an armbar. Really pulls back on that fucking arm. Tanahashi makes ropes just for the 25-minute call. This is where I noticed Taichi on the outside, right? And Taichi's Milano's partner at this point. And I looked it up. I'm Taichi was in Rise, right? And according to Wikipedia and Cage Match, Taichi was not in Rise. Apparently Milano was teaming with him, but he was not in Rise. So he was the Bret Hart to what Bret Hart was to NWO Hollywood. That was Taichi to Rise.
Oh, I see. That makes sense.
He was vaguely associated with them never put on the T-shirt. But yeah. But yes, Tanahashi makes the ropes just for the 25-minute call. Might be the first time in podcast history anyone's compared Taichi to Bret Hart for any reason.
We got to make it a real thing. I'll compare Bret Hart to Taichi in the next match. We'll make it.
There you go. So the Panthers did lose, by the way. They did not. They almost tied it with like 3 seconds left. But yeah, that was like a crazy game from what I could see.
That's probably going to put a damper on the rest of this pod. That's
39 shots for each team, just crazy. But yes, game 2 is on Tuesday, so hopefully they can Florida can win game 2. But I'll have to wait and see. I picked the Panthers not thinking they were going to sweep the Lightning or anything. I mean,
right. A loss is a loss. They weren't going to sweep. You're fine.
Yeah. What the hell is going on outside? Okay. Anyway, I don't know if you can hear that.
I definitely can hear that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck? Anyway, so Goto, Tana makes the ropes on that armbar just for the 25-minute call. Goto starts like teeing off on Tanahashi with kicks to the chest as he's kneeling on the mat, like some pretty hard ones too, actually. And Tanahashi nearly gets another flash pin with an inside cradle. And then hits his capture German for like another 2.9 count. And then Goto tries to come back with lariats. Tanahashi hits a drop kick to Goto's leg, followed by a dragon suplex hold for yet another super close near fall. He then goes up top and hits the high fly flow to the legs, which Goto sells like absolute death, and locks in the cloverleaf again. And Goto, with his bloody mouth, struggling to make the ropes, is a great visual. And I thought this was going to be the finish, honestly. And I was like, what the fuck? Goto made the ropes.
Yeah. Goto gets up bleeding. Really? It's a great killer image when he gets back up after the cloverleaf in his mouth. Like, I don't even know what got him, but it sure got him.
Yeah. There you go. Tanahashi hits yet another dragon screw, then another sling blade and covers. Goto kicks out at 1. Tanahashi then hits an inverted sling blade, then the high fly flow to the back, and finally the high fly flow to the front, and that is the pin. You can see how they really tried to protect Goto as he came up short for the 3rd time here. It just really took everything in the kitchen sink for Tanahashi to finally beat him. So there's still during the period where you watch this match, you're like, yeah, Goto could be a future champion, but didn't work out for him. This was an awesome fucking match, though. Better pace than a lot of modern New Japan stuff, especially the longer matches, without that super lengthy, nothing happens 15 minutes. The first 5 had some of that, but like after that, pretty much all action up until the end. And there were so many near falls you could have bought either guy winning on if you're watching this in real time. I went 4.5 on this. I just went back and forth on 4.25 and 4.5, but I really love this. So I enjoyed watching it for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, the floor on these Tanahashi matches is pretty high, and part of it is because that set of moves, like the legwork that's built into all these matches from this period, is just so cool, and it's so easy to invest in. And as long as he's got a good opponent who'll work with him on that stuff, it's great. And then you just in this match, the problem is I've watched so many. It's just timing for me. I've watched so many Tanahashi matches recently, and Tanahashi matches back then, if he's got an opponent that's not some kind of weird outlier like Giant Bernard or something, they're all kind of similar except for a couple where he pops out of the box. And I've just seen so many lately that I felt like I said earlier, I was calling the next move as it happened. But when Goto takes over on offense toward the end, it's sick. I have in my notes here that once he gets the knees up on the high fly flow, the rest of the match is just like fireworks, and it's great. And like you're saying, back then Goto seems like such a badass, and it's so easy to buy into him winning in a big spot. But it's just as tragic listening to you list all the tournaments he's won for nothing. All the New Japan Cup and then that one G1. I don't know, and it makes it even tough sometimes to go back and watch old Goto. And also, when I began this match, I was, like I said, I confuse a lot of matches from this period. And there's one match from this period between Goto and Tanahashi that, as this was going, I was like, please be that match. Please be that match. There's this one match where Goto just drops Tanahashi on his neck 8 times down the stretch, over and over. And I was going through Cage Match trying to figure out what year it was. And it wasn't this one. And I guess all I'm really getting out of saying this is, I wish this was that match. That match kicks ass. This match is a 4 for me. I might have gone higher if I hadn't watched so much old Tanahashi recently. But it's not a bad thing, because by the book Tanahashi is still better than almost everything else. And I often say that like Tanahashi's like one of the last wrestlers that still feels like magical to me. Like even if you look at like current day New Japan, all the other big names, part of their personas are being like nonchalant about everything, and Tanahashi's the opposite. He feels like he's like of a different time to me still, and that applies. He's a little like toned down in 2009, but it still applies here. He feels so big to me, and it's cool seeing that 12 years ago that still felt like the case. But I'm at like a 4 on it, a good 4.
Okay. So there you go. We got one match to go. See if we can go through this fast, because not this episode is super long, but I feel like I've been sitting here forever between the technical difficulties. So the last match was your pick for the fan vote: Bret Hart against Jean-Pierre Lafitte, right? Jean-Pierre Lafitte. WWF, September 24th, 95. This is the infamous Pirate steals Bret Hart's jacket match. I won the fan vote over my counter pick of Bret versus Piper from WrestleMania 8. You were like, did you pick that as a coincidence? I'm like, no. I always did the fan vote one. I'm just like, let me just pick another Hart match. I don't know. Maybe people actually remember this was Bret versus PCO. In fact, I honestly did not until I started watching it. I was like, oh yeah, that's PCO.
Yeah.
I totally did not think
it. That's part of why I picked it, yeah.
The poor Pirate, though, he doesn't even get a fucking entrance. They cut right from an HBK and Diesel promo. This is from In Your House 3, by the way. They cut right from an HBK Diesel promo because they're in the main event against, it's supposed to be Bulldog and Owen. It ends up being what? Bulldog and
Yokozuna.
Oh, it's supposed to be Owen and Yokozuna. It ends up being Bulldog and Yokozuna.
Oh, that's right. And then Owen runs
in and gets pinned.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, that's not official, so they're not the tag champions.
Oh, that's right. He gets pinned, right.
Yeah. Because it was for the tag titles and Diesel's WWF title and Shawn's Intercontinental title, where if they had pinned either one of them, they could have won either of those titles.
Just another way for Shawn to lose a belt.
Yeah. But no, he didn't lose. Well, the Intercontinental title was going to vacate the following month.
He lost
following the gang of the Syracuse gang.
Right.
Yeah, that was the following month.
But he lost the tag titles here, right? Or did the other...
Well, no. So Owen and Yoko were the tag champions. Shawn was Intercontinental. Diesel was WWF champion. And it was either... They basically built it up as guaranteed title change. If Diesel and Shawn win, they win the tag titles. If Owen and Yokozuna win, whoever they pin, they'll either win the Intercontinental or they'll win the WWF title. So they can only win one of them. And theoretically, you would want your partner to get the pin because you wouldn't win anything. But... I guess it didn't. I don't think they came into play in the actual match. But yeah, then Owen pulls out and they put Bulldog in, and then Owen runs out at the end of the match, and Diesel powerbombs Owen and pins him. So the next night they're like, well, Owen wasn't in the actual match by that point. It was Bulldog. So Shawn and Diesel are not the tag champions, and the belts get vacated. I think they end up on the Smoking Guns. So yeehaw.
That's the thing. Yeah, this was actually I didn't realize.
People wanting has WWF always sucked? The answer is yes.
And this is the semi-main, and PCO still gets a jobber entrance.
Yes. So he comes out while Shawn and Diesel doing a promo. We cut to him already in the ring, and then we cut away from him in the ring to show him like stealing Bret's glasses from a kid. You know how Bret always used to give the sunglasses at ringside, and then he steals the actual jacket on Superstars. First of all, they were still shooting angles on Superstars? I guess in September '95. It's like Raw existed already.
Yeah,
it's like why are you cutting angles on Superstar on your syndicated program?
And I don't think this stuff like even came up on Raw. I don't remember. Yeah. Like I watched those Raws, and I don't think. I think maybe it came up quickly in a promo. Like they weren't. I don't think PCO was like playing around with the jacket on Raw.
Yeah, it's really weird. But yeah, so Bret dives through so Bret does a great promo before a great Bret.
We got to talk about the Bret promo. It's so good.
So Bret, he says if Pierre Lafitte fancies himself a pirate, then Bret Hart is gonna make him walk the plank,
dude. In this period, Bret always gives like a promo right before he walks out, and they all have one line that Bret is like so proud of, and this is that shitty plank line. But my favorite part of this, he says something about like PCO being Captain Crook and he's Captain Crunch.
Oh yeah.
But then right after that, he goes, "Listen, Pierre, a jacket," and then he thinks about it for a minute, and he goes, "Is a jacket, I guess, but it means a lot to me."
Yeah, Bret gives that line like he's like a jacket It's just a jacket, but it means something to me. Because Bret's basically like, this food fucking stupid. I feel dumb yelling at you about my fucking jacket, but I have to make it work somehow. So that was basically what was going through Bret Hart's mind. It was great.
That's the story of Bret's 95. Bret gets taken out of the title picture, and he has the dumbest pay-per-view matches, and he makes them all work somehow.
Yeah.
I love it.
He's going to win the title in 2 months from Diesel.
Oh, are we already in September for this one?
Yeah.
It's bookended by these 2 Diesel matches, and in the middle, it's
that low-key horrible Bret Hart title reign where he beats, I guess, the British Bulldog in December. I guess cleanly, I don't even remember. But then he beats The Undertaker at Royal Rumble because Diesel runs in. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason. He beats Diesel in February in a cage match because The Undertaker pulls him into hell.
Comes out, right.
That's the only reason why he beats him. And then he loses to Shawn Michaels the next month. And it's like, what a reign that was, guys. Really protected the Hitman there.
But the match where he beats Diesel kicks ass.
Yeah, that match is awesome.
Yeah.
He does beat Diesel clean. He schoolboys him now. So, but yeah, I don't know. That's where Diesel goes motherfucking shit and tears apart the I mean, that's what Diesel says on paper. He's like, motherfucking shit.
Right after, right? I always confuse that and because after that he comes out and does the thing where he yells at Vince on Raw, and I never remember where he does what.
Anyway, so this match is pretty great, I will say. Like Bret dives through the ropes right on the Pirate, right from the opening bell. It's a great start. And then he gets his revenge right away on the feet. And he beats him up all over ringside and pulls the jacket off of him physically. We get a middle portion of the match that's like pretty much just Bret running himself and getting rammed into the corner pads as hard as he possibly can. Certainly entertaining.
Oh yeah, Bret. He gets thrown shoulder first twice, and he does the run in by himself the one time, and they look so good. I actually have that written down. He makes that corner shit look brutal.
Yeah. So then we get like a long headlock from John Pierre that kind of kills the momentum of the match a little bit that was being built up, but kind of comes to territory. It's a mid-90s EF match. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
He drops a Hogan-esque leg on Bret and then reapplies the headlock. Thankfully, when the headlock's down, we get some more big leg drops, including one off the top rope. And then John Pierre tries a senton bomb here in 1995. Even more impressive since he's such a big dude. But Bret rolls out of the ring. And PCO, he tries to do another flip dive to the floor. Bret rolls out of the way of that one too. So this poor fucker crashes onto the floor as hard as he can. Like, boy, that looked like it sucks.
And Bret's like a mile away. Bret, it's so funny watching.
Bret's like, no part of this large van is landing on me. Basically,
I don't even want to feel the wind from this. I'm out of here. Yeah.
Bret then sends him So I missed a part where PCO earlier had sent Bret into the ring steps, and Vince, for some reason, was like, "That's it, Bret's done." I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
He threw the man in the ring steps. Like, well, dude, I don't understand. Bret's like, "Oh, no coming back from that." I'm like, what the fuck are you talking? Oh no, he said, and that ends the match right there.
And that ends the match right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's an Irish whip in the ring steps, sir. But yes, Bret sends him even harder to the ring steps, and Vince is not like, "Well, PCO is dead." I'm like, you should be reading him his last rites compared to the last fucking ring step spot you said. I don't understand it. But yeah, some insane bumps here. PCO tries for the Finley roll, I guess, the fireman's carry flip driver. I will say it's sloppy and weird looking. That Vince at first actually has no idea who did a move on who, and for once you can't really blame him. Because it is that was a weird landing.
To me, that was like when Vince's reaction to that was like when they do the first alley-oop in semi-pro. You ever see semi-pro? Everyone's like, what was that?
John, have you ever seen an American movie? Not that many, I'll be honest. A few. But
yeah, well, it's not like I'm going with classics here. It's I'm naming some pretty shitty movies. But yeah, no, it's fun. I was laughing that Vince was just like mystified by that move. Had no idea who got hurt.
Well, yeah, there we had our pirate friend trying to put his feet on the ropes for the pin, but Bret kicks out. That gets a great JR line. He's stolen everything else, so he just tried to steal the match. I don't know why I'm trying to do a JR.
When JR said that, I was like, oh, JR's here too.
Yeah, he goes quiet a lot of the match. It's true. He ends up countering a bulldog from Bret by just fucking running him as hard as he possibly can the turnbuckle pads again, which is a really cool little counter. When Bret tries like a big dive on the ropes, PCO ducks, and Bret just fucking kills himself, like flying into these ropes as hard as he can, like crossbody style. That looked like it sucked. PCO tries another splash off the top. Bret rolls out of the way again. You'd think he would stop trying that at some point. And then Bret finally gets the sharpshooter, and that's the win. But yeah, this was awesome. If anything, even better than I remembered. PCO just bumped like an absolute maniac here. Bret did some gnarly stuff too, mostly all the running himself into the turnbuckle pads at full force. I have no idea how this match did not get Mr. Pirate PCO over. Maybe because they didn't give him an entrance, but it didn't. Because he was basically gone from the company only a couple months later. They had a rematch on Raw the next night. Did you know that? I saw that in Cage Match when I was looking up what was happening here.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's it's not as good.
Okay, it's only 13 minutes long, but yeah, it's not nearly as good.
It's fun. I mean, this one's got PCO taking more stupid bumps, which in the context of like a 95 WWF show is like watching Rey Mysterio and Psychosis or something, you know?
Yeah.
That's the other thing too. Like, you know, I've never seen this outside of the context of the show it's on, and it's funny because I remember it being this like super thrilling match, and it's because I watched the whole In Your House when I saw this.
Yeah, the show sucks.
Yeah, the show sucks.
The rest of the show is horrible.
And
I went 4.25 on this show. I thought it was awesome.
4.25. Yeah, I'm same.
Yeah.
I'm 4.25. I loved it. And PCO, I think what ends up happening is PCO's got problems with the click or something. Because I don't know how you don't get over with this match. But that's what I was getting at earlier. That's like, you know, if you look at like Bret's 95, he's got like the Isaac Yankem match. He's got this. He's got the Hakushi match. And like, it's not that like PCO and Jinsei Shinzaki are bad wrestlers, but like the crowds don't give a shit about any of these people. And all three of these matches, like, they rule. They're great. Like, even the Isaac Yankem match kicks ass. And
I just realized, by the way, sorry to interrupt you, but I was like desperately slurping juice out of this fucking Slurpee packet, and I think I might have done it right on the microphone. So if that noise came through, listeners, I am very sorry. It probably did.
I heard it, but I've been squeaking this chair. I've been wondering if that's been coming through. It was just a bad episode.
I'm very sorry, listeners. You deserve better for your $0 than me slurping right into the camera.
We talked about gambling for a half hour, and now we're just making strange noises.
Really trying to get some very good lemonade out of this Honest Kids packet, which I really do. I was drinking it on it. Look, juice packs are great. And this Honest one is like only 40 calories when I've been trying to watch my calorie intake a little more.
Oh, 40's nothing. I
was like, yeah, I'm going to fucking drink this shit, and I don't care if they're going to tell me it's for children.
Yeah, and there's only 40 calories, so you got to make sure you get every single drop out of that thing. You got to make this juice box count.
Exactly.
But yeah, Bret Hart's a good wrestler. I think that's what I was saying.
Breaking news. Whoa.
Get this.
Really dropping hot takes here. Bret Hart might be pretty good.
Also, like, watching Bret Hart's like so exciting for me. Not that exciting, but it's exciting for me now. This is my favorite period of Bret Hart. I like this more than even like Hart Foundation Bret Hart. Because it feels like Vince is like the booking. It feels like Vince is trying to like sabotage his career, and he's like, "I'll make all this trash work." But yeah, this match in particular, I think, is like such a banger. And forgetting that PCO, all I know that PCO did was like this, and he comes back for the Brawl for All. they brought.
He's in Brawl for All, really?
God, I hope I have this right, but I'm like 95% sure PCO's in the Brawl for All.
I mean, the next thing he has him doing on Cage matches, he and his partner, I forget the fucking guy's name. They're the Amazing French Canadians in WCW. They had a short tag run there, and then they jumped right back to the WWF to also do nothing. So, but that was like a year later. So,
okay, I double checked. He was in the Brawl for All.
Okay,
with one working eye.
First round or something.
He gets knocked out by Dr. Death.
Okay.
You know, I mean, even that's a burial too.
Yeah.
Dr. Death is supposed to win that thing. They hate PCO. But yeah. Great match. It's my favorite from this period of nutty Bret bookings. And like I said, for this period of time, it's legitimately like watching like Lucha or something. This is like the fastest paced match like that year.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely went a lot harder than, like, if you watch this match and you're like, oh, 1995 WWF match has a ton of stuff like this, you're going to be very disappointed.
I also, in the very beginning, he did, after that wild ass dive, there's like a part where Vince is like, "Ref, get in there, what are you doing?" PCO is just like unloading shots to the back of Bret's head. And I felt like I was watching Ironhead and
Fujita Shibata
Fujita Shibata again, right? Yeah.
There you go. All right, folks, we can wrap up this wonderful episode. I hope you enjoyed. I had a good time. I don't know if any of this is going to be listenable, But, since when do I care, I guess, is the question.
That's the spirit.
No, I love my listeners. They're all, especially if the ones who give me $5 at patreon.com/wrestling omakase.
I think I'm still a patron.
Oh, there you go. I'm glad you're not. Like, what some of these fucking people, it's like, okay, if you sign up and I don't know who the fuck you are and you unsubscribe, that's one thing. If you fucking sign up to my Patreon and unsubscribe in like a month or two, and I know who you are, like the Voice of Wrestling people who've done this to me, I'm just like, you are really ballsy to assume I will not hold that against you. You know who you are, listeners.
Well, great. Well, this means I can't. You just scared me out of ever unsubscribing.
Yeah, there you go. That's the whole idea. So there's a couple of Voice Wrestling contributors who are like, I know who you are. I know you unsubscribed. Don't think I don't remember.
They get that G1 coverage and just hit the fucking road. They're out.
Oh, you don't even know, dude. The G1, any New Japan tournaments, like everybody signs up and then everybody immediately drops out, basically.
Well, not me, John. I'm a lifer.
Thank you. But anyway, so it's patreon.com/wrestling omakase. Only $5. You want to hear all these Tanahashi Naito matches? They're so much fun. We're going to go through all the matches eventually, all the ones that made tape, obviously. And there's only like one more we have to skip. So after this, it'll be all the ones, in order as they happened. But yeah, even the ones I've done so far are a lot of fun. 2 more a week coming up. And again, no episode next week. Nothing on the free feed the week after. The Best of Super Junior episode for the last weekend of May. Exclusive to Patreon. So if you want to hear me talk at all for the next 3 weeks, again, maybe you don't, but you're 2 hours and 4 minutes in this episode, so I assume you probably do. Otherwise, like if you're still hate listening at 2 hours and 4 minutes of this episode, you might want to reevaluate your life, honestly. But if you do actually enjoy hearing me talk about pro wrestling, and you want to hear me for the next 3 weeks, the only place will be the Patreon. We will not be back on the free feed until, let me give you an exact date, the first week of June. So June 5th, basically, something like that, June 5th to 6th. So it'll be our longest break in a while here. You're probably used to us taking 1 week off here or there for, I just do a Patreon episode instead. But this will be a long break. June 5th or 6th is when we'll be back on the free feed. So maybe you're like, I do like listening every week most of the time, but I need a break from you, John. Great. Then I'm not talking to you. But if you want to hear me still do the one match episodes and the Patreon exclusive episode in 2 weeks, which will be a lot of fun, the Best of Super Junior finals. And we can get anything. We can get recent stuff, older stuff, who the fuck knows. And a lot of those matches are awesome. So I'm excited to do those with Joey Bay. So that'll be 2 weeks from now, only on the Patreon. So again, patreon.com/wrestling omakase, only $5 to sign up. And I just basically made it sound like I would shame you if you cancel afterwards, but if I don't know who you are, I won't do that. I promise.
You got it. This is a commitment, people.
I mean, I do feel a little pang of like, what did I do wrong every time? So, unsubscribe. When usually if I actually check the, I don't know if the trust's trying to save my feelings or what, but when people do leave a reason, it's usually like, oh, I just got really busy at work, or oh, I just haven't been watching wrestling really anymore, which I can't really blame people during this COVID era. But I'm always like, well, I must have done something to fail them personally. So that's always my reaction.
Oh, leaving a reason. I've never done that. I should start.
Yeah.
Really soften the blow. I'll sleep
Some
better.
people do leave a reason. A lot of people do not. A lot of people do not do that. So, but what are you going to do?
Has anyone ever just left like a shitty reason? Has anyone
No. No one's ever been like, fuck you, John. No one's ever done that. So, but it's always, if they leave a reason, it's always something like, I got really busy with work, or I'm just really not been watching wrestling or something like that. So anyway, I don't know why they got on that topic. Anything you want to plug, John?
I'm on Twitter at old Jon Hernandez. I play in a band called Timeshares at Timeshares Music. If there's any crossover between people who like my band and listen to this, we're putting up new music on whenever the next Bandcamp day is. So you got the inside scoop right here, 2 hours into Wrestling Omakase. I play guitar for Maxwell Stern and Roger Harvey, other musicians, if you want to go listen to music I've made. And I write stuff for voicesofwrestling.com. And that's all I got.
What are you one of these people that never writes anything, or do you?
I had a hot run. I did a lot of stuff for. I'm on all the Dragon Gate previews, and and I did a bunch of stuff for WrestleMania weekend. What do you mean, John? You didn't read my WrestleMania weekend GCW reviews?
You know, I am the biggest consumer of American independent wrestling reviews.
You must have missed it, but don't worry, it's still there. You can catch my my Acid Cup reviews all on the website.
So you can follow us on Twitter, folks, at Omakase, at Wrestling, of course, but not fit. Again, if you're not a Patreon subscriber, we'll be back in 3 weeks. I couldn't fucking tell you what we're going to be talking about. Maybe Dominion if it actually happens. Maybe is that Noah DET show happening around then? I think so if it's supposed to happen. But I mean, it changes by the day in Japan at this point. So you never really got to really fucking playing it by ear at this point with Japanese wrestling. All right, folks. So it might be like a fucking 5 matches episode again, you know. But I mean, this was the first 5 matches on the free feed in 6 months, I think. So I hope you enjoyed it. And if you love these 5 matches episode, if you love this episode, you can get a million more on the Patreon. We've done so many of them. Again, patreon.com/wrestlingomakase. All right, I'll stop plugging now. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in 3 weeks. Goodbye.